That's it. We are live. Today is Friday, the 28th of June, 2018. And on the panel with us today is Astral and Patricia. We have David, and also very special guest is Santos Bonacci. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And hello, Santos.
Santos.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, we've really missed you, Santos.
Likewise. As I was saying earlier, before we started recording, I have been sort of out of public action for about 7-8 months, and I did that to attend to my health, which was deteriorating. And so what I'm going to do is share my health story and poor health story, and share the protocols and modalities that I've implemented to improve my health, because health equals happiness, and I guess we all look for that, health and happiness, and we can all improve in that area. And I believe that they're both intrinsically connected to each other. A lot of reasons, a lot of unhappiness and bitterness in the world today is due to poor health. We have been educated in our educational institutions to believe that certain staples that have made part of our diet for hundreds of years are actually human food, whereas they're not. And so we have been deceived. And what I've learned about health, I think everyone will benefit from. And that's why I'm going to be sharing some very personal and private information in this hangout, probably for about an hour. If I can deliver all the points that I wish to share with people, I should be able to have done it in an hour. And I've really wanted to do this because I think health and the body and mind is the most important place to start, so that we can cleanse our temple, purify our beautiful bodies, minds, and emotions, and get really healthy and happy. Because the system was infiltrated, the educational system, etc., religions, all of this, by not the right people. Let's be nice. I want to try not to be too critical and damning. And so what they've done is they've implemented certain things that have caused us harm, really, and unhappiness. Certain staples like grains, GMO grains, that have been genetically modified and tampered with. Most of our staples, we go to the bakery and we get a loaf of bread. Beautiful, white, fluffy, delicious smelling bread. Scones, cakes, biscuits, all made, this is just one example, all made with GMO grains. And this all began many years ago, you know, before we were alive. And so those grains have been so modified that they are toxic. And they're designed to slow down the digestive system. What I'm going to talk about today mostly is the GI tract, which is where all health begins, in the intestines. And I discovered this by accident on April the 6th of this year. I was looking for an enema kit because mine broke. And I've been doing enemas for years. I've been doing lots of protocols and modalities for health and really not getting far at all. To the point where I was getting so frustrated, taking supplements, doing enemas, modifying my diet, correcting things, yoga, exercises, chanting, all of these things. And all of these things are valuable and beneficial, but only partially if your GI tract is not working correctly. And I hope I've got your attention, because whether you think you're healthy, you've been a vegetarian, or you've had this special diet for 20 years, 30 years, you've done yoga, you've taken supplements, you look good in the mirror, all of that, believe you me, all of that is deceptive. Because no matter what diet you've been on, some nasties have crept into your diet and caused trouble for your GI tract. So what I discovered on April the 6th of this year, I was looking for an enema kit and I was going all around town. No one had a decent enema kit. So I rocked up at a place called Inner Glow here in my town, Noosa. I live on the outskirts of Noosa, which is a town in Queensland, Northern Australia, on the Sunshine Coast. And Inner Glow, the lady there, I told her my symptoms. I said, I've been losing sleep for about a decade. I lose about 3 or 4 nights of sleep per week due to not being able to sleep because of irritable bowels and poor digestion. And so I would go to bed many nights and start itching. I would just itch. It would be on my nose. Next thing, it's on my shoulder. Next thing, it's on my toe, on my knee, and it would travel all over my body. Sometimes it was very gentle and soft and ticklish, like a feather. Other times it was like a little ant bite, like a little taser, penetrating. Starts off very, very light and almost an itch that you can just ignore. But then it just gets, some of them get so nasty and vicious that I just have to scratch. And this would go on some nights for hours, all night. And I'd have to wake up and I'd have to do my daily functions. It might be a show, it might be going out, get shopping, and it would ruin my days. And I have been literally tortured for 10 years. I started syncretism online in 2011, but even before that, my health was deteriorating due to the GI tract and not understanding the GI tract. So I've learnt a lot, and I'm going to share my experience and some very private and personal details for the benefit of all the good people out there who are struggling with their health as well. And I believe that I will be able to offer some good tips for people to take to heart and implement in their lives. So when I mentioned my problems to this woman there, Rasuna, I'm mentioning her because eventually I'm going to share this product with people and they're probably going to want to get some for themselves. Most of the people I've recommended this product to have had great benefits. Others, not so. The reason being is because there are ingredients in this natural remedy, 35 natural organic herbs in this product called Bowel Restore by Kenda, Qenda. You may need a pen and paper to write down these details, because you will be wanting to know all of these details by the time I'm finished. So I started taking this product. Rasuna told me, she said, you have parasites. So she sold me a really good enema kit, and I bought a tub of Bowel Restore, massive, big, like a bucket. And it cost 100 Australian dollars. The moment I started taking this product, I started evacuating mucoid plaque. The description of which I'll spare the listeners, but it's black and ancient looking. And I was excited because I've never experienced anything like this in my life. So the next day was more exciting because I was doing more bowel evacuations than I've ever done in my life. I've never been constipated in my life once. I've always been regular. And this is the deception. Because of this, I thought to myself, well, I'm pretty good. You know, I'm 140 pounds, 65 kilos. That was my weight from since I was a teenager till today. Well, that's not correct. The last 10 years, I've been 10 kilos or say 25 pounds underweight. And that is clearly noticeable in every single one of my presentations, because I lost this weight about 10 years ago, 4 years before I even considered posting anything public about syncretism in 2011. I believe it was 2008, when all of a sudden I just started losing weight and looking gaunt and sickly and yellow and jaundice. And I couldn't even stand looking at myself in the mirror. And this is the reason why for 3 years I held off making astrotheological presentations, because I thought to myself, I don't want to be seen. I look so awful. And I just don't want to put my face to any of this. So for 3 years, I held off making presentations just so as not to scare people with how bad I looked, and seeing as how I love health so much and speak about it at every opportunity I can. So in the end, though, because my message and what I knew would help people spiritually and health-wise, regardless of how not a good example I was in any of it, but I still went out and did it. So I made the presentations knowing that people were going to point fingers and saying, well, you're always talking about health, but you don't look good. And I got that from my family as well and loved ones. So I'm not at all ignorant of the fact that I'm not the best example. There are a lot of better people out there who can talk about health and they look good. Okay, so, and I still don't look good. Hence the reason why I don't really want to be on video today. I just want to share the information, and hopefully people who need it will benefit. So I've got a lot to talk about, and I hope I can put it all in good order so that
You're doing really
comes
good,
out nice.
Santos. You're doing good.
Thank you. I'm trying to go slow and collect all my thoughts properly.
Santos, I know maybe you feel like that about yourself, but there are millions of people who love you just as you are.
Yep,
Just to say,
and that's true. That's true, and I'm thankful, and that's what's kept me going. It's wonderful. I've been blessed with good friends more than I deserve. I don't deserve the good friends I've got. I've got the best, wonderful, evolved spiritual friends on this plane that anyone could ever wish for, including you guys. I'm very appreciative, believe me. I'm very sensitive though at the same time, and I do get affected by the negative ones. As people know, I do get distracted by those ones. Hence, that's the reason why I've disabled all comments on my videos, etc., and try to stay out of, public arguments, but I keep getting drawn into them. Anyway, going back to health. One day, I think it was the 6th day, would have been about April 15th, I had 11 major evacuations. Now, please try and visualize. I'm lightweight. I'm 5'7", so I'm not tall, and I've always been skinny. And people have always made comments about how skinny I am. Oh, watch out! You'll get blown away in the wind if it's a windy day. You better put some lead in your boots. I'm sick of those comments. I don't mind it. I mean, I'm happy that I'm skinny. My sisters, one in particular, has been overweight all her life and suffered. And we have a similar gut problem. She has been overweight and I have been underweight. And so this affects people in different ways. Some people will get arthritis, some people will get rheumatism, headaches, but it all stems from the intestines. What I'm going to share to you folks is no matter how healthy you think you look in the mirror, you will need to address the mucus in your body. Dr. Sebi, bless his soul, they murdered him a couple of years ago. One of my favorite gurus on health said, there is only one disease, and you can cure all diseases by knowing this. And it all stems from mucus. Moldy, fungal mucus due to eating a non-human diet. Now, think for a moment. If you had a horse, a pet horse, or a cow, or a goat, or a sheep, they're all vegetarian, and you noticed because the grass was scarce in the paddock, or there was no straw to feed your horse, and you noticed that horse running around after rodents, rabbits, crickets, and animals to chew on due to hunger, you would reasonably and rightfully deduce that it's time to shoot that horse, because that horse is confused. A horse would rather die to eat the flesh of another animal before it commits this grave error in its thinking. They would never smell a steak or a mouse or a rabbit or anything and contemplate eating it to survive. It would rather die. Now, here we are, though, and we eat things that we think belongs to the human staple because we've been convinced by very, very clever doctors and researchers who tell us you need these fats from animals, you need grains in your diet, etc. Now, I'm not saying that animal products are not for humans, such as milk and honey. All the scriptures speak about the benefits of milk and honey, especially if it's, the cow it's coming from. I don't. I'm vegan. I love cheese. I love products like honey from animals. I try to abstain as much as possible, but I still do consume a little bit of honey here and there. I don't have cheese anymore, simply because I know how to make vegan cheese. But I'm not not going to labour that part of this topic today, what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating. Each one needs to decide that for themselves. But I do believe, because of all my research, that the human organism is not designed to eat those things. It's a plant-based digestive system that we have, and it's designed for as much hydrogen-based foods as possible. Water, herbs, fruits that are juicy. The juicier the food, the longer you live. The more processed and high ash content, the quicker you die. You dry up and you die. So let me leave it at that for food. Processed food is harming us. I used to love processed foods, cookies and scones and biscuits and things like that. So right now, those things, grains, I have learnt, aggravate my GI tract. My problem has been inflamed intestines. Another thing I discovered that was hurting me is lentils and beans, especially if they're not cooked properly. You have to smash the gluten and the lectins in legumes. Lentils can be very, very harmful. And looking back now, I realized that all the dals that I used to love making, and probably due to my own ignorance and not cooking it properly.
No, I like them too, Santos.
Oh, they're beautiful. And they're very nutritious, but people like me and maybe some of the listeners need to just pay attention to what it does to you. Probably you'd want to eat them for your midday cooked meal. I don't think beans, grains, and lentils should be consumed for dinner because it's very heavy going to digest. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe through cooking them properly with perhaps pressure cooker, what you do is you really, really break down the glutens and the lectins and make it more digestible. I'm just throwing out there some of the tough foods that are very, very hard to digest. So by eliminating and watching what you eat, you can really, really improve your health. Now, since April, I've had a few weeks of absolute euphoria, ecstasy, and bliss. I've had some really, really glorious moments watching all of this mucoid plaque, what would seem to be, I think, 6 or 7 bucketfuls. And I'm not exaggerating. There's no exaggeration at all. I have not lost any.
Where are you storing all this then, Santos, if you're such a thin man anyway? Where are you storing it all?
I have no idea. What I've been told, I contacted the owner of this product who lives in Perth, Western Australia. He told me that a lot of it is the 35 herbs that are in there that actually expand in your body and gently scrape all of this mucus from every part of your body. It's in our brains. It's in our lungs. What happens is it builds up in the intestinal tract, in the small intestines first. Then parasites start to grow their nests in these pockets of undigested meat and grains, because meat does not digest, it putrefies, and it collects in the folds of the intestines, and it squashes the villi, and the receptors in the villi are blocked instantly. The moment you have grains, you shock the villi and the receptors so much that for 7 days, you are blocking all nutrients being absorbed in your intestinal wall. That's how toxic grains are. Okay, the modified ones. I'm not saying heirloom ancient grains are the same. They're not. They are acceptable, but they're hard to get, and you want to only have you don't want the normal process for making bread. You want sourdough, ancient grains. That is acceptable. What happens then is the parasites, they make colonies in your small intestine, and from there they go up the duodenum into the stomach, creating problems with leaky gut everywhere. Then they go up into the lungs. Hence, people who are coughing and spitting out phlegm, their lungs are full of parasites. From there, they go up the throat and into your head. And a lot of people have got colonies of parasites all through their brains. And this product draws all the mucus from all your body. Now, I've seen it. I know people are going to struggle with envisaging 6 or 7 buckets of mucoid plaque, but I saw it. I witnessed it. And I've heard the stories because I've been in contact with other people who have taken this product, and all of the colonics people in the local area and all the people who are using this product to help people with bowel cancer, heart disease, arthritis. This reverses almost everything. Asthma, because it draws the mucus. These are 35 herbs, including horsetail, dandelion root, psyllium husks. Let me just pull up the product right now. I will read to you some of the herbs, just for people who are interested in natural remedies. I've gone to the website kenda.com.au. Kenda is Qenda. You're going to want to write this down, folks. This may not be for you. Please don't just jump into it. There are many products that will do this. You can get them locally. There are 2 stockists in the UK, in London, who supply this, and I've put quite a few people in the UK onto it, and they're having great success with it. But all the rest are in Australia, and Rasuna will ship to anywhere in the world. And there's another place in northern Queensland, in Cairns, who also will. They've shipped out 20 or 30 so far, just on my recommendations. Here are the herbs: psyllium husk, black walnut hulls, hibiscus rosella, licorice root, horsetail, rosehip, oat straw, slippery elm, cascara, marshmallow root, cinnamon verum, Irish moss, yucca root, Turkish rhubarb, chlorella, turmeric, bladderwrack, astragalus, ashwagandha, meadowsweet, barberry, dandelion root, aloe ferox, wormwood, skullcap, fennel seed, passion flower, mullein, violet leaf, pawpaw leaf, witch hazel, clove bud. Now, some of these ingredients, I've had a few friends call me saying they can't take this product, okay? If you have high blood pressure, you need to be careful. Some of these things like cascara, licorice root can be a little bit tricky, all right? And for me, I was also losing sleep on this product at night, waking up. One night, I went to the toilet 11 times, guys, because it works all throughout the day, gently just caressing all of this sludge and parasites and heavy metals, okay? In my colonic sessions, I've had about 5 or 6 in the last couple of months since taking this, and regular enemas weekly. I have seen parasites. I have seen sulfur, ammonia, heavy metals, fluorescent type liquids coming out of my body. So my health has improved. I still have a ways to go. I'm not anywhere near as healthy as I'm going to be in the next few months. So that's why I'm still not doing a lot of interviews and things like that. It's just too hectic, and I have to cancel them. Like I cancelled with you guys last month. Remember?
Yeah,
I
you
had
didn't
to.
come to our party, did you?
Yeah, I just can't function. If I do a show in that condition, then the rest of my day I have to write it off, and I've been writing off weeks and months in the last 10 years. And I have been, every single day, I have been tortured by this itch and lack of sleep and mental fatigue.
Yes, Santos,
and just,
you've been telling me for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, and I've never ever shared this in all this time, because it's been very, very difficult for me. It's been very hard to deal with. It's been hell, and but I've found the way out of it. Okay, and I've because I do a lot of medical chart readings and things, and have had to do witness many health problems with others. I have just been persistent in trying to find a way to get people healthy, especially myself, because it's very hard to share with people the right way to eat and live and do things, yoga and meditation, if you're not looking good. I've never had a disease in my life. I don't know what arthritis is. I don't know what heart disease is, rheumatism. I've had one headache in all my life. I've never had pain. I don't experience any pain whatsoever. People ask me the first thing, oh, where is it? Where does it hurt? And I don't have any. I don't know what pain is, except for one day I nearly died. It was such a horrible migraine. I was 9 years old or something like that. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I thought I was going to die. And I've never had headaches since. And yet there are people who talk to me every day, family members, people I love all around me, rheumatism, heartburn, headaches. And I've helped them. I've helped them because I get the feedback. But I haven't been able to help myself. And here I am, tortured and just struggling every day, irritable, just angry, unhappy, miserable. And the only word I can really use that will give any kind of explanation to how I've suffered in the last 10 years would be torture. I can't think of anything else. But and I'm still I haven't itched for about a month, but a couple of weeks ago I had a little bit, and so that's going. So I'm getting somewhere, and I have to thank this product, even though 20 or 30% of the people I've put on onto it have not been able to be helped, but it has given them the incentive and inspiration to go looking for similar products. And I can name another 10 similar products that will do this job, okay? So I'm not saying go out and get this. But definitely I'm saying address your GI tract, people. Do it. Cleanse your temple. All of us have parasites. Whether those colonies of parasites have overgrown and causing harm, they will kill you. In the Bible, it's called the worm that dieth not. Wormwood. The worm that is in hell, that's your intestines. Hell is your intestines. Why? It's called Gehenna in the Bible. And the everlasting fire of Gehenna is the fire and the sulfur in your digestive system. Unless you are wise, unless you are intelligent about what you put in your mouth, you will suffer. Your health is down. Your happiness is down. I don't care how happy you are, whether you take medications to make you happy, or you take cannabis because that helps, or whatever your trick is, coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, all of those things that add to your happiness, they're really just little band-aids. The moment you refresh your GI tract, cleanse it, purify your temple, that's the moment that true happiness, stable happiness, will come to you. I mean, I look back in the last 10 years and, I'm happy one day. The next day I'm like a raging, unhappy, angry madman. And I'm sick of that. I'm sick of how it wreaks havoc on my life. I'll wake up some days and had such a torturous night that I would be so angry that I could literally weigh myself in the morning and see how much loss of weight due to my anger and bile and bitterness. I could just literally see every fit of anger that I had and its spill effect on my body, and watch me just lose weight due to it. Nourishing foods and being in the mode of love is what makes you put on weight. In my case, not in everyone's. See, some people have got a similar problem to me and they are overweight. But rest assured, all health problems stem from the intestines. Here is what I've learned. You can look online in Google about the intestines and the large intestines, which we call the colon. The intestines, the villi, the receptors there, are hungry always for nutrients to feed the brain, to feed the lungs, the blood. All the nutrients get carried in the blood, the liver, the kidneys that filter all the toxins. All of these organs are digestive. And when you put food, which you think is food but is not, into your body, you are inflaming and aggravating all the organs, and instantly they are struggling. And due to our ignorance, we are poisoning ourselves. Every plant has poison inbuilt into it, even the best of herbs, because they wish to protect themselves from being eaten, of course. Nothing wants to be eaten. But certain foods, depending on your astrological constitution and the way you are configured astrologically, for instance, if all your 10 planets are in masculine signs, it's more than likely that you have a fast metabolism. See, my chart is very fiery and masculine. Leo rising, Aries sun, 2 planets in Aquarius. Let me think what else. Yeah, well, I've got more planets in masculine air and fire signs than feminine water and earth. So I've got a fast metabolism. People who have a preponderance of planets in earth or water, more likely to put on weight, more likely to have a slow metabolism. So you need to know which foods to put into your body. Now today I'm not going to be dealing with the foods because it's another whole other show, which I can do if you want to, but suffice to just speak about certain principles today. When you go to a Chinese practitioner, he will check your pulse and he'll look at your tongue and he'll tell you whether you need to eat cooling foods or heating foods or moist foods or dry foods. There's only 4 varieties. In astrology, they are called the 4 humours: hot and cold, dry and moist. Now, you can work out just by thinking about it what properties the foods have. Watermelon is obviously cold and wet. Okay? Chili peppers are obviously hot foods, heating foods. So they will heat up your liver, your stomach. And people have slow metabolisms, or people who have a lot of wet astrology, water and earth, could use those. They need those. Other people don't. So they need to refrain from hot foods. And you can tell by looking at your tongue, if you have a lot of white phlegm on your tongue, well, that's overheating in your GI tract. So you need to cool down. Drink a lot of water. Watermelon, fruits, apples. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. There's a reason why they say that, because it's true. With fruits, if you are extremely toxic, fruit juicing, cold press fruit juicing is very good for you. Vegetable juicing is better than fruit juicing in the long run. Eating fruit raw is probably a better way of consuming fruit than juicing in the long run. So try and have at least 1 meal a day, I would say, of fruit, and try and make it just simple, not mixing too many. The more you mix foods and complicate your meals, the harder they are to digest. More juice is needed. The liver needs to process all different kinds of things because it's a very complicated chemical processing organ. And so it has been recommended by good nutritionists to have simple foods. Perhaps have just for breakfast an apple, 2 apples, or just a bunch of bananas or a whole pineapple. One simple food. I mean, a lot of people don't like fruit. They get sick with it. And there's reasons for that. I would persist. I would at least try and have fruits in the morning for breakfast. Very healthy to do this. And then probably just a big lunch like a dal or I don't know, if you can find some good rice. These are nourishing foods. Sweet potato and things like that are nourishing foods. I'm not recommending any of these. I'm just saying that they can be helpful for certain people. Steamed vegetables, that's very soft on the stomach and digestive system. Why would you cook food? Well, because you pre-digest it. Fermented foods are pre-digested as well. They are very beneficial. Taking prebiotics and probiotics are very beneficial. These are just a few tips. I've got thousands, but I won't be dealing with that so much. But these are some of the things that I've implemented. Distilled water and supplementing with minerals. Unfortunately, all of these supplementing and things like that, they're only band-aids. You only get about 15-20% benefit from all of these modalities, but they are necessary. There's a lot of waste of money in doing so, unfortunately. But some of these band-aids are necessary until such time as you understand your GI tract, You understand your constitution and what to put in your body. It's very important. So if you have parasites, I would suggest consuming a lot of foods that they don't like. Ginger, turmeric, garlic, onion, pineapple, apples, beetroot, all the root foods you can juice. Carrots, they don't like these. Lemon juice, lots of citrus. I would be drinking citrus in the mornings, in the afternoon. You know, grapefruit, lemon, lime. These really break down all the toxins and fats that are not processed properly. They strip them. Of course, you have to do all these things with knowledge. Bit by bit, you implement these modalities and improve your health. Why is the mind and the body's health so important? Well, because happiness and bliss and spirituality and ascension come from this. Many scriptures say, cleanse your temple. The temple is the body, the temple of Solomon, soul of man.
Santos,
Yep.
has this stopped all your itching then? That stopped it all?
Yeah. I've still have a little bit of itching. As I said 2 weeks ago, I had itching. Now, I was told it was parasites. I haven't seen many parasites. I have seen a few small ones in my colonics, and I've done liver flushes as well. I do gallbladder flushes with the olive oil and lemon juice, the Andreas Moritz liver flushes. And when I did one last month, I did see a parasite. It was about so I was told by Rasuna on April the 6th that it's parasites which cause itching. Then again, a year ago, when I went to see my family naturopath of 30 years back in Victoria, when I went to visit my family, we went to see my naturopath. He said it's the kidneys, my left kidney. And he gave me prescribed sodium phosphate, which is the cell salt for Libra. Libra is the kidneys. So I thought to myself, well, how about that? I've been prescribing the cell salts, and for kidneys, for Libra, sodium phosphate. Well, I took that, a whole bottle, it did nothing. Nothing at all. And then another naturopath said it's the liver. And then gallbladder, I was told there's not enough bile. And so I changed my diet. I removed grains. That helped. I removed, what else did I remove that wasn't helping? I can't think right now, but I have modified my diet and done certain things. I've done a lot of things. I just can't speak of them all at once. I need time, but I've improved 50%. I'm not all the way there yet. Last night, I lost about 3 hours of sleep. So I'm feeling tired right now and a little bit irritated, and I'm struggling, but I'm not as bad as I used to get, believe you me. And most days I've got a lot on. I get hundreds of emails and inquiries, and I never just ignore those, and that's been ongoing since 2011. You know, I get so much inquiry. I spend probably about 5 or 6 hours every day on average. Every day, every single day. I cannot escape and run away from the computer at all. Not one day. If I do, I've got headaches the next day. So I'm always behind the screen. My eyes are suffering because of it. But that's what I do. I mean, I have to do that.
Yeah, computer's a bit of a killer with your eyes, isn't it?
My long distance sight is 20/20 still. I can see a speck of dust on a mountain a million miles away. Yeah. But up close for reading is a bit of a strain. I still don't wear glasses. I refuse to. And I'm lazy with exercises. I could be really, really more disciplined, and I could fix my eyes in a month. But I suppose I'm just not disciplined enough. But I suppose if they continue to suffer, I will have to. But I'm improving my eyesight as well with this. My energy levels have definitely increased. Definitely. 30% minimum. Just to be conservative. But some days I've got exuberant energy. I've probably had about a month of really, really good energy and bliss since April the 6th. I've now stopped taking the Bowel Restore. 2 weeks ago I stopped because I was advised that it's better to have a rest, because stripping all this stuff can also strip nutrients from your body, even though I've been supplementing really, really well and rigorously and watching everything. But the reason I've had a break, I'm not finished with the mucus, because the last stage, which you've removed all of your mucoid plaque, is you will evacuate what's called bowel ropes. Now, hop on a browser and punch in bowel ropes, R-O-P-E, yes, rope, and have a look at the images there. And that is the final stage. Now, I have reached that stage, but I stopped as soon as I reached that stage, because you can overdo it and then you get toxic again. So now
you sent me the pictures, didn't you, Santos?
Sorry?
You sent me the pictures.
I've been sending it to everyone. I have been on the phone to friends, family. I think hundreds of people have gotten onto this product or similar products since April the 6th. Every day I'm sharing it. I go out to the shops, to the checkout ladies. Everywhere I go, I tell them, please look into this product, or do something to flush your bowels. There's many things you can do. I mean, you can make a remedy at home with 4 ingredients. I've got a 5-minute video that I'm going to post. I'll post it on Facebook later today, guys. I'll post a video where you can make something with flaxseed, psyllium husk. Here are the ingredients. Here we go. Listen to this. You can just get yourself some psyllium husk, ground flaxseed. I recommend everyone take flax seeds every day. Probably the best food you can ever have. Buckwheat and bentonite clay. And if you want to, you can add black charcoal to it. And that's the 5th ingredient. You can make it yourself for 5 cents or whatever. It might be $5 rather than spending $100 on this Bowel Restore. Okay? So, or you can do a salt flush where you just drink like half a gallon of salt in the morning. You can learn this on just browsing on YouTube, 5 minutes, how to do a salt flush. There's many flushes. But the point is, we have a build-up of mucus, and mucus is the root and cause of all diseases. And there's only one disease, if you follow guys like Dr. Sebi, and they all stem from mucus. If it's asthma, it's just mucus in the lungs. If it's heart disease, it's mucus in the blood and in the heart. If it's bowel cancer, it's mucus in the bowel. Whatever it is, it's mucus. Mucus is acidic. Acid is ruled in astrology by Saturn. Saturn is Satan. The sun rules alkalinity. So you see how there's this war between the sun, alchemy or alkalinity, and Saturn, which is Jesus and Satan, Horus and Set. It's the war of acidity against alkalinity. And the war that we fight, that we must wage, is to keep those two elements in balance. We need acidity. We need alkalinity. Different organs need more acidity than others, and some require more alkalinity. It's not about alkalizing the body at all. As they say, oh, alkaline body, you won't get cancer. Well, that's true for certain organs in certain parts of the body, but it's not true for, generally speaking. This is where knowledge comes in, and ignorance must be squashed. We need to know our own bodies. It's through the body and cleansing the temple that you will ascend, because in so doing, you will also flush out your secondary digestive system, which is the lymphatic system. There are 12 systems in the body. The digestive system, ruled by Virgo, needs to be attended to first. Once that is flushed, the lymphatic system, ruled by Cancer, will also be addressed. Then the heart and circulatory system, ruled by Leo, your blood will be purified. Then your nervous fluids, ruled by Aries, the cerebrospinal and nervous system, will be purified. Those four need to be purified, all in that order. Watch your diet, folks. I'm not saying stop eating grains, stop eating animal products like milk and cheese and whatever you love. Remember, in so saying, you do not want to be supporting corporate cheese and eggs and milk and honey. Those will kill you faster than you can ever imagine, folks. Make sure everything you consume is organic, please. And you know that it was untraumatized. Because you could be having, goat cheese and thinking, oh, I'm so smart, aren't I? But you don't know how they're treating those goats. Not all goats are happy to give their milk, to humans. You don't know. You don't know that they are. And you don't know whether they're being, tortured or abused. And every meal you have, every meal you've ever had, you might have sat in a restaurant 20 years ago with a bunch of friends and had this beautiful steak with red wine. And that animal was so tortured and caged and immunized and vaxxed and brutalized when the butcher butchered it and carved it up, and the abattoirs totally just traumatized that cow. You've got trauma in your gut. It's been sitting there for 20 years and you don't know why you're angry and upset and unhappy and sick. It's because portions of those meals, undigested, with all the trauma and torture, are still sitting there. Unless you flush that out and you've seen it in the toilet and you've watched it, it's still there. No matter how long. I've been vegetarian for 10 years. And people who love me and care for me, who are concerned for me, will advise me, you might want to change your diet. You might want to reconsider going back to eating meat and things like that, which I would never do, because I've made that decision holistically for spiritual reasons. I'm not going to do that. Some vegetarians have gone back to animal products and they say, oh, I feel better. Well, that's not because of the animal product. It's because your GI tract. See all these vegans and vegetarians going out there doing all these modalities and not improving their health and being judged by that. And vice versa. Vegans and vegetarians judge meat eaters. They don't look good either. Some of them do. And some vegans and vegetarians look great. They're the best boxers and weightlifters and everything in their category, and there's arguments on both sides. But I'll tell you something: if you are wise, you won't judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree. You will examine all things. And the people who have judged me saying, oh, Santos, you need to eat some hamburgers, you're not looking too good with your vegan diet, it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with my own stupidity and ignorance and how I abuse my GI tract by putting stuff in there that I didn't even know I shouldn't be eating. You know, I'm a lover of, you know, bread and things like that. You know, in the Italian upbringing that I had, I remember all the pork that we used to have, the sausages, the salamis, the prosciutto, spaghetti bolognese. You know, Dr. Sebi used to say, the Westerners are on a blood and starch diet. Both blood and starch diet will cause you to be backed up with mucoid plaque. You cannot escape it. Please don't sit there and think that you've escaped this one. Oh, you might. That's fair enough. It's up to you. I mean, I've done my part. I'm here to, I don't know why I'm the truther that I am, but I love truth. And I'm here to share as much truth as I've discovered with as many people as possible.
Yeah, you like helping people, don't you, Santos? I mean, a lot of people don't maybe know that you're an activist as well. You actually go out and speak out on the streets, in front of courts.
I've always been like this. When I was a Jehovah's Witness for 20, 30 years, I was knocking on people's doors regularly, telling them how they can help themselves and save themselves. I've always been preaching the best talk that I've known, even though obviously when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I was trying to convert people to a Rockefeller, Rothschild controlled, brainwashing, co-opted church. Well, I've removed myself from that now, and, I haven't always had the correct information. 4 or 5 years ago, for instance, I was using Copernican globular model for explaining astrology and syncretism, even though I was using the Ptolemaic correct flat earth geocentric model in every single one of my presentations. People didn't notice that contradiction. Here I am, referring to the earth as a ball. Now, I thought I was a great truther 4 or 5 years ago, but I wasn't. You see? We all need to watch what we know and believe and teach and share. So I do believe and know that my teaching, not my truth, I don't like using that expression, but I do believe and know that every day what I'm delivering from my research is getting better and more truthful, because there is only truth. I hear so many alternative media folks saying there is no truth. Well, they got that from the Bolshevik left-wing Marxist demons who have caused havoc and plunder and pillage on this earth. That's where they got that from. Because prior to that, all the Neoplatonists and the Hermetists would teach there is only truth. God is truth. The universe is truth. All other principles are born from truth. Love is dependent on truth. Truth is not dependent on love. Truth is dependent on nothing. Truth is God. There is only truth. And there is only our ignorance to dispel and acknowledge that truth, learn that truth, share that truth. That is our duty. Now, I don't know why I feel such a duty to share truth. I don't know where it's coming from. My mind, my heart, my liver, my backside, my toe. I don't know, but it's there. And I have it. And you guys have it.
It's a bit of a burden as well, isn't it? We talked about this once. Because, if you don't...
The prophet Jeremiah... Go on.
Well, you carry on. Just saying we talked about this.
I have. I always have, yes. And And there's a good example, Jonah, you know, Jeremiah. He said, I will not preach God's truth anymore. I will let them suffer, all these people. I will not tell them the word of God. And he said, he tried to isolate himself, and he said, no, there is a burning in my bones, in my heart. I have to speak the word of the Lord, you know. And so Jeremiah went out and prophesied again. He couldn't stay shut. He couldn't not speak the truth. You know, I research every day. There's not a day that I don't research. My family will tell you that, and my loved ones and my close ones and my partner. They will confirm that, because they see it. They see how much I dedicate to learning, to research. And so for me to stay quiet, these last 8 months have been rather difficult, you know, because I'm learning things every day and sharing them. But it's an onerous task, because we have so many enemies. You know, we have the Jesuits, the Freemasons, who are controlled by the Jesuits, the Knights of Malta, the Vatican. All of these financial institutions, they are all geared to lie to you. Doctors, a doctor will put, you know, $1,000 in his pocket to recommend chemotherapy to you, knowing that it's only 3% success rate, whereas he could give you apricot kernels or vitamin C, which has 100% success rate. He won't make that $1,000 in his pocket, but he'll look after Bayer and Johnson & Johnson and Monsanto and all of these drug dealers, drug pushers, and he will point to his academic, certificates on the wall, and his beautiful laboratory white coat, and he looks all good, and he'll vaccinate your children and give them autism and brain damage and all kinds of other things. You see, we have a lot of enemies, and some of them are innocent, you know, or naive or stupid or ignorant. How can any doctor not know that vaccines are harming people? They've seen it. They've seen it. They've seen the harmful reactions every day, and yet they continue to do it. This is how stupid and evil and ignorant people are. And they will ridicule you for saying, anything about their procedures and protocols. You know, they've got all the laboratory tests and research and the mountains of proof and evidence that they work at blah, blah, blah. They don't. And yet there are armies of professional people out there who are the enemies of truth.
Santos,
even naturopaths.
Can I just interrupt you 1 second? Yeah. Now I'm going back a few years, obviously, but you'll remember this, where doctors were actually recommending cigarettes, you know. I mean, how ridiculous can that be? You know, but they were recommending them, you know, in advertisements, obviously, because they were getting some form of a payment for it. But it just shows you how much the world has turned from back then to how it is now. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, you can't even look at a cigarette without being guilty, you know. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. You carry on.
No, that's a good point, brother. That's one of the examples that I'm talking about. You know, the globe in kindergarten. You know, if a little kindergarten child asks questions about the globe, he'll get ridiculed, and that's where it all starts. Church, you ask questions about who is Jesus, what is it? They'll tell you to shut up at Sunday school. You know, doctors will tell you to, have plenty of grains and plenty of animal products. They're not going to tell you that these are all industrial and highly chemical and toxic and vaccinated and poisonous and processed. Then you go to a naturopath thinking, surely, you know, they're better. No, they're not. They're all full of shit, guys. And to be frank, so are we. I know I was, because I saw it. I was full of shit. And I saw that come out of my body, and I've still got more to go. I've still got ropes in there. I can feel it. I said before that I've never had pain. I never have. But I have had discomfort and irritability. I've had syndromes. I've never had a disease. I've had irritable bowel syndrome. That's what they call it. Temporomandibular joint syndrome. I've had chronic fatigue syndrome. All of these syndromes. And I've always, and my mother's always, I remember always being concerned, and she'd take me to naturopaths and doctors when I was young. I remember when everything went downhill, I went to a dentist and got a filling. And my mum said to me just not long ago, she said, I remember your sickness began after the dentist appointment, the mercury filling. You started burping. All of a sudden you were just burping all the time, like my dad, she said, because her father also had gastrointestinal problems. He was always sort of, burping and uncomfortable in the bowels. And I didn't have any of that till I was about 15 or 16. Then I went to the dentist. And then after that, my mum's saying, why are you burping? What's going on? And then all of these syndromes started turning up. Irritability, chronic fatigue. I had chronic fatigue syndrome for about 10 years. At least that's what I was told it was called. And I remember waking up just tired and not being able to face the day. That was in my 20s and 30s. And the spill-on effect, the way I treated my first wife and my son. Poor boy, he loves me. He's forgiven me. He doesn't even, he just shrugs it and says, you're just angry, Dad. That's cool. I understand. Sometimes you look like an idiot when you used to jump up and down in fits of anger, and I just used to pretend I was scared of you, but inside, he said, I used to laugh my head off. You look like a clown. And I can see myself. I can look back and, oh my God, I hope none of that is replayed one day. My actions and my anger and bad behavior, road rage. It all stems from unhealthiness, guys. We are full of shit. Okay? It's called mucoid plaque. And we need to address it. However you do it, do it. Cleanse your temple. Get it ready for the great work that's coming. There's a great awakening coming. The colonics lady where I go, she said, she was talking about bowel restore and how she took it, and she said, when you dump the bowel ropes, after you finish dumping your last bowel rope, she said, you ascend. This euphoria comes over you, and it's just a bliss and an inner knowing that you are clean. Now, folks out there are doing all these wonderful things, taking fulvic acid, mineral salts, yoga. Guys, if you're doing all of those things, that's great, but it's only partially helpful. The mucoid plaque must be removed. You must cleanse your temple. However you do it, do it. It's urgent. And then a certain kind of awakening happens. I know it because I felt it. I've had 2 or 3 days here and there since April the 6th that have been just absolutely blissful. And, I'd call up my mother and encourage her. Please. She had bowel cancer about 10 years ago. She had a heart attack about 3 years ago after my jailing incident and the way the SWAT team raided her house for 2 days and traumatized her. 3 months after that, she had a heart attack. So she's taking it now. My sister, my brothers, they're getting benefits. My overweight sister, she's now, able to get around, go to the shops and do things since she's taken it. And a lot of other people, every time I do a chart reading now, I look at the chart. If the indicators, Mars, Saturn, the moon, Cancer, Virgo, Libra, all of the signs and planets that belong to the GI tract, if they are struggling, I immediately recommend to cleanse the bowels, because hell is in your belly. Okay, the belly we call the tummy. Both those words come from Tammuz and Baal. Okay? Tammuz, tummy. Baal, belly. When you look after your belly, see in the Bible it says, those gluttonous people do not love God. They worship their bellies. Baal. That's what it means to worship Baal. To be gluttonous. Porphyry, my favorite of the Neoplatonic astrologers. Flat earther, astrologer, vegetarian. A couple of thousand years ago, or 1700 years ago, he wrote extensively about abstaining from animal flesh. And Plutarch and all the greats, for thousands of years, the great Pythagoreans and Platonists, vegetarians have been telling people, eat moderately. Gluttons will not inherit God's kingdom. God's kingdom is a state of being. It's euphoria. It's bliss. We all have it in us, but we're preventing ourselves from attaining it due to mucus. That's it. There might be other reasons individually for each one of us, but 99.9% it'll be the mucus, guys, because of eating a non-human diet. We've all been seduced due to our own ignorance to partake in just an absolutely erroneous diet. Try and eat a lot of herbs, guys. Mint, basil, get the herbs into you. Put them in your smoothies. Herbs are number one. That's what Dr. Sebi used to say too. Dr. Robert Morse, he's another good guy. He teaches about fruit and the benefits of fruit and berries. He says that fruit and berries is the number one thing for humans. Other guys will tell you vegetables. I would be putting grains last. Before you touch grains, I'd be doing seeds and nuts, vegetables, green leafies, herbs, fruits and berries. Those 7. So any of those that suit you, you need to be careful with seeds and nuts though. They can also irritate the GI tract, especially the intestines.
Can I ask you about what about the seeds that are in, like melons and things? I always eat those, but do you recommend that you continue eating them, or should you just peel them and spit them out? What?
I would crunch them severely. Remember, digestion starts in the mouth. Folks, when I went to colonics the other day, the night before I had some lentils. The lady doing the colonics, she said, you had lentils last night, didn't you? Because she could see all these lentils full, not even chewed, going through the plastic tubing, coming out of my body. And I was disgusted because I sit there and deliberately tell myself to chew every time I eat. And I sit there and chew and chew and chew and chew. And yet these lentils escaped somehow my conscious chewing effort. I tell you, if you think you're chewing, you're not. You've got to chew your food. If you're going to have seeds, activate them. Soak them overnight in water. Nuts, same thing. They need to be soaked and activated so that all the nutrients can be bioavailable and softer on the intestines. You've got to love your intestines, guys. It's your brain. It's your body's brain. If it's clogged up with mucus, your cerebro brain will also be. Everything is interconnected. And we are so dumbed down because of mucus. That's all it is. All your health problems, arthritis, whatever you got, pain, whatever, headaches, address the mucus. So I think that's about all I wanted to cover. I could go on and on and on ad nauseum, but it would bore you because you've got your own brains, you've got your own minds, you've got your own knowledge. You can run with what I've shared. I could go on, but there's no need. Those are the basics. I will be back with more, but I also want to substantiate my journey with looking good, looking healthy, you know, filling out in the face, and feeling good. And I still don't have that 100%. I'm struggling still. I've got other things going on in my life as well.
Yeah, quite a lot happening, Santos.
Yeah, it hasn't been a very good 6 months. I had to move house 4 months ago, and I'm glad I did, actually, because otherwise I wouldn't be in the area where I discovered this product. I'd still be suffering.
You had to move there then?
Yeah, yep. It was all part of the big plan. It was all, you know, meant to be. So, but I do need to stress that we all have committed actions and deeds that we're not proud of, and behaviour. I certainly have. It's gotten me into trouble every time. I went to jail twice for picking fights where I didn't have to, just out of sheer stupidity, going out of my way to make a point where I didn't have to. I've had arguments on Facebook and lost friends and things just because of being irritable and angry and just in a horrible, horrible state of mind. And we all have. There's no one that is perfect and is saintly that can say that, you know, they've never done anything to offend anyone or themselves or hurt themselves. We all have. It's part of this struggle of life and this body that we're in and this system that we've, you know, been born under, that teaches many, many lies and destructive things. See, the purpose of the Jesuits, who are the masters of evil, is to deceive. And as Helena Blavatsky said, not Helena, she did actually say that the Jesuits and the Vatican were the cause of all trouble on the earth, yes. But Thomas H. Burgoyne, her contemporary, one of my favourites, said that half of the evil on this plane comes from those entities that are connected to the Vatican. They are controlled by dark fourth dimensional forces who are parasitic as well. So in a sense, they are not masters of their own destinies. They are absolutely controlled by very, very nasty demonic forces out of our dimension, out of our sight. But the ones that we see, your George Bushes and your popes and queens, all of these mass murderers, they are all part of an agenda which has been long in the making, and it is has been only a handful of so-called elite families who have bloodlines who are connected to these demonic entities through sexual interrelations. They have mingled their DNA, I guess you could say, with them. And so they have an obligation to those forces. But the universe is all truth and all loving, and they will be defeated. They are being defeated because evil destroys its own evil. So evil, we don't have to go out there and fight these. They will fight amongst themselves, as we are witnessing right now. We are witnessing massive wars in these controlling factions and organizations. Jesuits against Knights of Malta, against Knights of Columbus, Knights of Teutonic Knights, etc. Scottish Rite, York Rite, all of these Freemasonic brotherhoods, secret societies, they all hate each other. They've only worked with each other because they've profited. They've got their nice mansions on the hill. They've got their Rolls Royces and all their other perks. But they also have gotten themselves into a situation where they've got a lot of dirty laundry that can be, made known at the drop of the hat. And so they're not happy either, are they? Because they created a system which has trapped them in it as well. So they're not very clever spiders building webs. Evil destroys evil. Okay? Love remains forever. Nothing can touch love. If you are in love and you stay inside of truth and love, you'll never be hurt. As it says in the scriptures, do not fear those who can destroy the body but cannot touch the soul. Fear him that can do both. Or her. God is not a him. God is of the same substance as we are. We are God in quality, not in quantity. But you and I, we are God. And we are also different to God. This will be our nature forever. We will never be all of God. We will only always be God and different to God. And what is God? It's all the intelligent, conscious energy that has ever existed and that is and will ever be. And that's who we are, immortal and never dying. All we have to do is make the right choices so that our immortal souls can be in a good condition. Because when you leave this plane, you will go somewhere else. And it may not be a nice place. Okay, those people who are harming others, they know that they are going to go to what's called hellish planes. But they don't care. It's their choice. We, on the other hand, we can go straight back to cause, which in Bhagavad Gita is called Vrindavan. Or we can go to Vaikuntha. Or we can go to Brahmajyoti, Brahmananda. You know, there's many places to go to, guys. Wherever a body is being prepared for you is where you will go. And when it's prepared, you will leave this plane, whether it's a car accident or whatever, dying of old age, whatever. You will be removed from here, and the body that is prepared for you, it won't be the same as this body. It will be like unto this body. It'll be transcendental, especially if you go into a better place. But all your good deeds go with you. That's why some of us are more advanced than others in this life. It's because in past lives we did more work. We paid attention. We loved the truth more so than others. Others were distracted. They went after evil paths and destructive paths, and so they reincarnated in a not so good body. You know.
Santos, a few people have been writing to me, including Bling Bling. They say, forgive yourself and don't worry about all those other things. But I think this time off's given you time to think a bit, hasn't it? I mean, we've really missed you in a way, but you've obviously been thinking as well about other things.
Yes, I've forgiven myself and I've forgiven everyone else, everyone. I don't have any grudges against anybody, even all the ones that I had vehement fights with. I forgive everyone and I ask them to forgive me. I have forgiven myself for anything and everything I've ever done. And I do ask that I don't have any grudges with anyone. Anyone who's ever had anything against me, you're welcome to approach me. I have nothing anymore left to fight about or argue about, except in general. You know, if I'm going to post something about, you know, good diet, good living, you know, geocentric true cosmology, I'm going to be, I'm going to still be myself. I'm not going to be I'm not going to dilute my personality. I'm out there, you know, I'm ferocious. I've got a Leo rising. I'm like a lion. Yeah. I know that. Sometimes it's ugly. It's not nice. Other times it's admirable, you know, it's heroic. I've seen me in my heroic nature and it's impressive. I like that in me. I've seen myself very, very ugly and I'm the first one to be disgusted, you know. But yeah, I've got no problem.
Santos, you don't realise the respect that you've got from people. Maybe you feel like that, but if only you understand what the chat room are writing, even with David here, you've got so much respect. Maybe you've been a bit hard on yourself as well.
Yeah, well, I think I'm just being truthful. I don't think I've been hard at all, but by the same token, whatever you have done, anyone that you might think is really unforgivable or really bad, or whatever I have done equally, I will forgive. I've forgiven everything harmful I've ever done, and hoping that the recipients of that harm will respect that and forgive me for that. And I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you've done to me. I don't care what you've done to your brother, mother, father that you regret as well. For me, I'm in the position now that I am truly able to forgive it completely. And I think it's a very important thing to do. When you look at the word forgive, you're actually giving something. And it's like a preempting, you know, you do it. I've always been the kind of person that goes by the philosophy of you are my friend until you prove yourself not to be, rather than, you know, to hold people sort of, you know, you're not to be trusted until you prove yourself to me, the reverse. I've always been probably a little bit innocent and gullible, but you know, that's how I've been. People, to me, will always have my friendship first and foremostly until they.
Santos, sometimes like in your presentations or the way you are, you're this way, but a lot of people don't realise you're a very sensitive person.
Yeah, that's true. They don't, and so I've had people write to me, don't know me very well, and will attack me and be really, really rude, and thinking that I'm tough. You know, I'm not. You know, I'm not. It hurts me. It really, really hurts. I've been, you know, like depressed for weeks due to some of the emails. I get them every day. I get people telling me they want to come and stab me to death. I had a local guy said he's going to bring his guitar and he's going to rape me with his guitar because I'm teaching, you know, geocentric cosmology. That's how much these people. Yeah. You would be disgusted. You'd be horrified if you saw some of the emails that I have to delete from my computer. People do that and thinking that, you know, well, like he can handle it. He's a tough guy. I'm not. Everyone has sensitivities and everyone can be hurt. And we all need to understand that. We can hurt people. That's why Plato said, be kind to everyone. You do not know what people are suffering. Everyone is suffering more than you. Be kind to every stranger. And even in the Bible it says, you know, be kind to strangers because you don't even know who they are and who's watching them.
Don't you treat people as you wish to be treated?
Yeah.
Isn't that a good start? Can I just say something? David here would really like to say something to you, Santos. David?
Yeah.
Okay then, this is my moment, my time to shine. Thank you, sister. That's very good of you. What I'd like to say is, you mentioned earlier that you didn't want to be out in the public as it is, out there teaching and you know, promoting something and not looking your best, and you was conscious of that. And I would just like to say that I think that was an honourable thing to do. And sometimes people, the guys on YouTube, and I'm finding this out now, that's why I wanted to interject and just say this to you, brother, that I've just done a video about decoding the matrix and architect's design within law, and I got most of the stuff from YouTube, yourself and other speakers, and I said in that video that it isn't easy doing public speeches and doing like these presentations and getting things together, and we do come under a fair amount of criticism, but the general consensus is positive. But I just wanted to say that yeah, it's a credit to you for doing that. And actually, if you can't have your own inner strength and your own core strength, and in this game, I know now through the last 2 years of the course of my journey and experience and growing on YouTube and interacting and hangouts and so forth, and trolls and shills and negative energy, and let alone the cabal, and we'll leave all the Jesuits to one side. The actual digital domain of our own family is quite adversarial and hostile, full of egos, and when you come in and you're sensitive and you're genuine, it's I've ended up crying, brother, on a YouTube video, and I was going to delete it because I didn't want the flack, but then the guys that were live watching it said, look, Dave, you take this to your heart, you feel the problem, you know, you see the pain, and if you get upset about it, then it's not, you know, you're a man. That's just a human man, you know, caring thing to do. So, you know, you have to make these decisions. And I just wanted to say that other than I saw and we was aware through the close network of your health, and you leave people alone to have their privacy. That's what we should do. And, you know, you get strong, come back. And I, for one, I'm very happy to see you, brother. That's it. I yield.
Thank you, David. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, as you're just talking there, David, did you want to explain to Santos those bits that you did want to say to him, the other bits about what you're doing? Because we already said to him before we came live that you were going to say something. So now is your time.
Oh, wow, again. Oh, Joe, wow, this is amazing. All right. We have a system now of trust and equity. It's been brought to us, Santos, that we have a common law jurisdiction in the realm of the United Kingdom, and also the landmass England, Anglo-Saxon soil. So that we've come to learn that the United Kingdom is in fact a trust. And we are looking into trust and equity. I've set up a Facebook family. We don't call it a group, it's a family. We've got like 3,600 in there built up into a private group. And we are honourable. We use equitable remedies and common law remedies, and we have an online digital university. And my mentors to do this, to bring this to the table, to study the law, was my mother, who was head of Derby Law University as a lecturer. Julia Jeremita was, into that, and I looked to her for some advice in my time as a adolescent looking at family law, and she helped me out. But when it came to myself and the Crown, Santos, and the Crown's, we'll call them controlling chains on my property, that being blood, children, and the services that the United Kingdom employs when a family splits up, and man wants to see his property, blood, and they call it children, and we have to go through the legal system. I paid 20 grand and 2 years at a high court, eventually with a barrister, to get access to my property, brother, and I didn't know any of this. And since then, I found out about the legal and the lawful, and we've looked at quite a lot. Yourself, Romley Stewart, and Franco Collins are all from, I believe, that mighty fine continent of yours, and they've been an eternal strength to us to network over here on Anglo soil to get round this cabal and what's happened over the time. And you and your presentations, Know Thyself, is one of the most well-known videos. It's us over here that are hardcore underground researchers of such things as that you've mentioned with the history and the lineage. And I've done a documentation recently, which is an hour's presentation, which for me is short because I am known to waffle, to be fair. And it's involving everything like the three trusts, Boniface and Unum Sanctum, and going through the Master Trust and the Cardinals and the Jesuits and the Franciscans and the Medici. And for Anglo research in law, you must understand that we've all been angled on the lawful rebellion side. We were going to the dominion, the courts, the judiciaries, the de facto lower ones like magistrates and districts, and going, I'm not the international surety for this, and I don't have an international treaty. I don't agree to be the surety. Show me your oath to the judiciaries, like. And we didn't realise he was a trust, he was a beneficiary, and it was a trust, and we had the CQV and Quasi. So Romley, you and like I say, Frank, have opened our eyes to go from constitutional rubbish, which has fallen down, the Magna Carta, and we've looked at the Bill of Exchange and the Bill of Rights and the contracts between the monarchy and the man, And we've, in 32, 40 months, we've set this Facebook family and trust up, Sovereign Paralegals, and then we went onto the website and created our own private domain, because to reside on Facebook and to try and invoke equity in Surrey, you know, in personam, and you know, use equity, the maxims of equity and law. We've got like a little trust now. We're private, and we get donations, and we help vulnerable members of our extended family. By that I mean, you know, the blood of man on Anglo soil, and we tell them, if you've got a certificate of birth and a birth certificate and the estates and so forth and equitable assets, we manage this, and we teach this for us as you know, for free, and we offer services. So I'm at the point now where we are looking forward to going to such places as the, you know, the benches in the courts that act as, you know, the trustees that you'll know about the gold in the Vatican and how it's representative of souls and so forth. You've touched upon it here, and you know about the papal bulls, or bull papil, and the international banks and the settlements and the CQV and that. So we're looking at remedy now. We're looking at the key in England. When you're 21, you get a key at the age of 21 on a birthday card. That key, we didn't know what that was for, brother, but we do now, thanks to you guys and our hard due diligence, research, discovery and applied application. We've won in some magistrates courts, and we're having some successes, brother, based on all this first-hand knowledge and, you know, research. And it's quite scary. We come under attack. We get trolls and shills. I appreciate where you're coming from with some of the stuff, and there is negative energy, but overall we've got a strong, loving, trusting family and then it turns out the whole remedy that we rely upon and that we'll use is trust and canon and ecclesiastical, and that's where I'll leave it, because that's quite deep there. But we've had a accelerated, you know, learning curve of the last 3 years. We are primarily a trust ourselves now. We appreciate the trust technology. Christian Walters is another man I'll mention that I've looked at and we've looked at. New trust technology. This is, you know yourself, this trust technology is ancient. This is some of the first laws, some of the basic laws that we have in there, you know, and how the trust and the, you know, the dominion from the creator and all that, and the Vatican stepping in, and the, you know, executor to Venice through the Franciscan friars and the unum sanctum and the popes and the declarations. It's a lot for man to take on. So then we've got the burden and the responsibility of not only trying to provide salvation through the honourable system and not the Roman cult, through the, we call it a sovereign movement. We are self-governing. We are governed. We accept that, but we're self-governed. We have persons, and they are afforded to man for remedy. God is not a respecter of persons, is he, brother? And in the Bible, they kicked out the bankers, and yeah, it's there's a lot of clues there, and we are very proud of where we're at, and there is some hope at the end of the, you know, the tunnel. And I'd like to say that there is some justice in the courts as well. And as long as you know how to have your status and capacity, and you know how to represent, and you go there by a certain way, and you address with the correct, you know, you compel the judge and the trustees in their capacity, and you can contract knowingly, or you can be the victim. And by that I mean you can go in the dock and contract and be salvaged. But yes, that's it, brother. That's what we do, and we've done all that from like 40 months, 35 months. I got into it looking at family law for my property, and look where I've ended up. Look where we've discovered all this. So it wasn't. I was DJing 3 years ago, Santos, on the Isle of Zante. I have Italian and Greek lineage. My surname is Jeremita. It's amazingly close to Geromatria, and I'm fascinated with the etymology and the phonics of everything, and the definitions and the definitions of the language. And we had the silver-based backing removed from the Bank of England in the 60s, you know, in the United Kingdom. And when they did that, they took away etymology, and that left us with a D-based language. And so we have the gap to fill there with the, you know, the language that they used to trick us and contract us. We are having to fill that gap. We've got a lot to do. You know, man doesn't know who he is, brother, and he doesn't know his rights, and he's committing suicide over fictional debts. So that's why we are here, and the system is winning. And we've got the fourth industrial blockchain revolution and cryptocurrency coming, and the children, our property, seem to be going into forced adoption through invisible chains, through the ignorance of man. So we've got a diabolical situation. I don't mean to be negative, but I'll be honest with you, we are fighting quite a battle, and we've got the strength to it is canons, ecclesiastical, and knowing thyself, is it not? I'm going to yield now because that's enough. That was a summary. Bless you.
That was the best summary possible. You covered everything, brother. And I didn't know that your subject was sovereignty, but I'm glad, because the health and the sovereignty, they would be the two most important things for everybody right now. Right now, sovereignty and health. Both of those will lead to everlasting life.
We have, I'll just add, we do have a health and wealth section on my channel. I do hope you could take some time. I know you're busy, but to check Indiglow. It's quite an amateur channel. I'm a humble man, and I don't pretend to be something I'm not. But what we have discovered...
I'll send him else,
Yeah.
he can...
All right, brilliant. We've discovered health and wealth, and when you started talking at the beginning, what David, me, the man, has started to find is through helping others on YouTube. I found out about a man called Bob Bex, and I've looked at his colloidal silver. This gentleman who I helped on YouTube, or I'm still helping now, his name's Channels Dodgy Doctors. He sent me this colloidal silver pulsar kit and CD, and I've started making colloidal silver. It turns out it kills all 650,000 pathogens. And with what you were saying earlier, I think it might be beneficial for you to look at. But with regards to the good pathogens we have in our body, the colloidal silver, you don't put it externally. You have to look at it. I've cured psoriasis on my elbow, brother, from 25 years now. I've had that, and I've been using coconut oil and butter organic, you know, the thicker stuff on it, and it's been remedying it to an extent, but I haven't fixed it. I've been told about colloidal silver by this guy on YouTube, and as we've been chatting legally, and I've taken power of attorney to safeguard and help him, and I've been experimenting with it, and I've documented it on my channel as well. It's reduced it now to 10% of what it was, and I've since looked at colloidal silver benefits. And in England, in the 1840s roughly, they was giving it intravenously to cure many internal diseases and inflammations. And the women, the chefs and the cooks were keeping cream in their larders at that time. No fridges, no big Smeg fridge or Hitachi or anything, just a block and a cellar. And they were putting what in there to preserve it? The silver sixpence. Because if you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you were fortunate, and it wasn't just a fortune thing. It was like, you know, bacteria and stuff. So I've just started to promote that through the trust that we have on the .com and our Facebook, and I'm saying we'll just sell it for a donation. Even there's no sale, it's a donation, and you get the bottle, and it's a tonic. It's not medicine, but they've known about these things for ages, and we used to have it in milk, and then they started pasteurizing milk, didn't they? And then when they did that, they took out all the goodness of it. And that is what lies in your gut, the L-Casei immunitas and such probiotics as that was in the milk. And like you said, if you know the cow, like in Italy, my relatives, or Greece, where they do Santos, and they get the cheese and the feta and everything from the, you know, the animals that they feed on the back garden and in the farms, and it's all fine. But when it's mass produced and the injected and hormones, and some of the cows in America have holes in the side where they feed them and stuff to make it easier and to put chemicals in. And when I saw that, I thought, I don't really need to eat meat anymore, to be fair. It's gone past the point of, you know, if you actually open your eyes to it, you can see that.
Can I just say something there, David? I built a roof on it was for a farmer. A new barn that he was having built last summer, and I was looking at the cows, you know, and oh man, it was breaking my heart to see these cows every day, and they were just like, yeah, they're all good, and we look after them, and we love my cat, and he did love his cows and his animals and everything, you know, except they were pumping them full of chemicals, man, every day, and I'm asking him, what's that for? He said, oh, it makes them big and strong. What's that for? This is to kill this, and what's that? Oh my God, man, so many chemicals, you know, and people are aware of it. Of course, we're aware of it, but the majority are not, you know, and it's the majority that we need to inform. So I yield the floor. Sorry to interrupt you, David.
No, I finished. That's it. I was just highlighting that we're aware, we fight
David,
it. Sure.
David, the other thing you do is you're starting to help people at court, aren't you?
Well, we advocate not to go to court, like probably Santos may agree there. I saw his chat with Steve McRae, he's another brother and a contact in arms that we have that, you know, helped us about the equity and the canons and how it's structured. But we do advocate to sort everything out in the private, in notice, using the doctrine of notices. But should man need to go to court for some reason, then it is sometimes a necessity to attend or make an appearance, then we do, Santos. And in the United Kingdom, we've discovered that I'll give some information away to the viewers for free because it's extensive research, but it's peace and love to all. So there is there's a trick with this CPR, you know, the court procedure rules, the civil procedure rules that govern the statutory rule of law in England under these de facto, we'll say de facto because they are with the bonds and that, and we understand exactly how they work and that they're a dominion of a business and that they have no securities, and we dance with the judiciary now, and we limit his discretion, and we become the litigant in person. This is from a street guy that used to be DJ, and I've never been to university for law in my life, but we've done some self-learning and discovery and applied ourselves and first-hand knowledge and put the rumours to one side. And yeah, we went and got cross-examined by a traffic officer in an Oxford court, no less. It was a magistrate, but even so, they speak like this, Santos, you know what, and very upright. And we was there at 5 o'clock. They went out to deliberate after the cross-examination of the traffic officer and of the alleged driver. But I went as a Mackenzie friend. I don't know if you have them in Australia, judiciary, if you're allowed to, you know, represent yourself and have a friend there. But do you have that? He's gone. Hello?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I had I'm mute.
All right,
I couldn't find the button. Yeah, we do. Mackenzie friends. They're called different in America, aren't they? Something different. But here we call them Mackenzie friends.
Yeah, we went down, did that. We took some books down and we explained, we cross-examined. And what you have to do in this system as we see it is when a court demands, well, the canons law and the ecclesiasticals say that when a controversy in law is created, it needs to be resolved one way or the other, and there is an automated process that comes into play for the person, and we have assumptions and presumptions in law, so we have to indeed rebut them, and you have a choice of attending and you know, presenting as the victim, or we would then ask if you want to be accountable and competent for your actions and manage the estates. And we did that quite well. They didn't like it, to be honest. They were quite forthright with it and kept calling him Mr. And we said we didn't want to claim that title. He was there as the settlor or authorised agent and representative of the driver. We had to point out to the magistrates that you'd think would be trained in law and equity and private and public, you know, how the situation was set up. And the officer that made the claim didn't have a camera on his vehicle. He didn't have a witness with him, another officer. The alleged traffic offence of the Road Traffic Management Act of the United Kingdom was that the driver of the van had gone through a red light. That's a mandatory stop in all countries. So the officer gave chase, issued a ticket. The ticket was argued, but it wasn't. We didn't submit the forms. We didn't fill in a statutory declaration. This is important as well, because when you do that, what did I say? We didn't submit a form. That's like a wrestler tapping out. We understand that now. We apply it. So we noticed them and we put them on notice. They didn't like that. They ignored it. It got took to a hearing. All law is auricular. Law is auricular, we understand, brother, now as well. We've come a long way. Auricular. I didn't know that word till 3 days ago. And we put the law to them by this little trick. It's called a sworn affidavit, statement of truth, a verified statement of facts put on a legal document, well, a lawful document signed by the man on behalf of his person. Very important. Done in personam. We submitted that to the court as defence for the traffic officers pay per claim. Now, in law, equity is paramount. So the hinging on this was we went in, asked what evidence they had before the claim and hearing. They've got an officer's statement. Man puts a statement in. Officer puts a statement in. I advise this guy, it's a gamble, but the equality is paramount. They can't rule in favour of officer. If you've said contrary, they need what's called, proof, actual proof, proof that is substantial, some kind of substance over the form. And they couldn't, so they deliberated, took expert advice, and come out and said, the charges are discharged on this occasion because we are unable to prove that this is an actual fact in law, and you are free to go. But we pointed out he was never held, and we thanked them for their due diligence and for using and applying the rule of law, and that is paramount in here under the coding systems we have. But that was scary, but it was my first real time, doing that. And they are very dishonourable, and they are very angry, negative guys. I'll tell you that much now. I yield.
Thank you for that, David. I'm sure that's music to Santos's ear, hearing all that, the way you worded all that. Hey, Santos?
Yep. Very, very well done. I can see that David is on top of all of that. This is how they've been getting away with their crimes and milking our trusts and our bonds by counting on us to be ignorant. So I guess on the one hand, our knowledge is our savior. So the same with health. You can save yourself a lot of pain and disease that will come in your older age. You can save your children from these, the bar and the Crown and all of these judges and police and so forth, just through knowledge, knowing the procedures, in this case, using their system against them. They think they're smart when they pass legislation like they're doing here in Australia. Malcolm Turnbull, that's what we call him. He's passing legislation on terrorism and people who post information and truth on their social media. They can be jailed for 7 years. These criminals, they're in Parliament right now thinking they're so smart, but guess what? That will first be used on them. That is how they themselves will go to jail. I think it's the higher parts of the conscious universe are playing games with these morons. They think that they're setting traps for us and making a prison for us. It's actually for them, They are going to destroy themselves through their own parliamentary bullshit laws because of their love for legally trying to bind their brothers. As Jesus said, woe to you who bind these little children, and you yourselves do not wish to budge, yourself one little iota, but you bind these little children with all these heavy burdens and laws and regulations and codes. They will backfire. They will entrap the makers themselves of them. So I see a lot of Australians getting nervous and wanting to sign petitions to stop them and everything like that. I'm starting to see how the universe really works. I'm starting to see that the creator's just looking down going, yep, just give them enough time, give them enough slack on that rope, and guess what? They will trip over and hang themselves in one fell blow. So we're just waiting now, and it's only a matter of time. I can see it months away now, not even, when they'll all just hang themselves.
We can't wait for the change. It's a lot of very sort of, our society is very narcissistic, isn't it? They've sort of bred society, the laws, everything to be very narcissistic and well away from the people. So we can't wait for the change.
Yeah. It's been like that because the system that the greedy people of empire, the Roman elite, the Greek elite, the Persian elite, the Babylonian and Egyptian, all of those 7 world empires, they created a slave system through fiat currency, banking, religions, military, and all of this, so that there would be unbalance on the earth. There's enough land for everybody. There's enough trees to eat from. There's enough foraging that we can do. We didn't need agriculture in the first place. I mean, there was a garden. The earth was called the Garden of Eden, and all we had to do was look after the trees. Trim them a little bit. We didn't have to go tearing the ground up and raping it of its minerals just to plant extra crops of grain so you could feed a Roman army, and then teach other human beings that they should be eating that too. Everyone should be, we could have our own gardens. We just forage our herbs and some dandelion in the back garden. Everybody's got dandelion there. Best minerals you can get, because the roots go right down deep, and you'll never get sick. My mother would say to me, all you have to do is just go and get your dandelion. Go out backyard, it's there, the little yellow flowers, just eat them, put the leaves in your salad. That's all you need. You don't need supplements, etc. So they created a system whereby everybody can go to the grid, the supermarket, and get something canned, from China. Wow, this product's from China. They shipped it all over. And yet we've got herbs and food in our yard, the grasses in our yard. If all we do is just study what dandelion is, what plant argo is, what a lot of these herbs, everyone has 20 or 30 different healing herbs in their gardens. They can dry them and make tinctures, teas out of them. And if they want to be real alchemists, then they can do a third process to their teas where they burn the plant matter and to an ash, and then put those ashes in the tea, and that's a spigeric now. That's a full alchemical process whereby you have purified and separated those herbs and then recombined them, and now that will be the ultimate healing thing. That knowledge of doing that has been lost to most of mankind, but it's still there. It's easy to find how to make herbal tinctures from herbs in your backyard garden. You can feed and nourish yourself and supplement your diet with what's in your garden once you get to know it. And so there's plenty of land. There's plenty to share. We don't have to buy into the concept of ownership necessarily. In this system, of course, we have it, but ultimately we're going to all share everything on this plane one day. We're going to use and share rather than buy and own.
May I say what one of our main agendas is for our purpose of being, Santos? Then I'd like to see what you think of this. We would like to propose a universal, non-sectarian remedy for all, and ultimately we would end up declaring the world's resources our own again. So away from the corporations, ideally.
Yeah, they already are ours. It's just that through trickery and legal language, debased language, which you mentioned before, dog Latin, etc. Thank you, Justinian. People have opted for a lesser, to act and commerce through a lesser person, and hence now even the property that we think we own we're only tenants and leases of that land or cars or whatever that's been registered, and the government entities still control through legal title all of those things that we've registered and we think we own. So already we do own it because we put the sweat equity in there. We are the ones who build the bridges, the roads that the elite manage. They send us out to the war to fight their wars. our children and our sons and daughters die and perish, and they continue to build bigger banks and bigger pharmaceutical and military factories. And whereas we should reclaim that, it's already ours because it was given to us by someone far superior and higher to them. We were given dominion, and we have to reclaim that dominion. So I'll be part of that.
Sorry, Santos, that about sending people to war as well. I mean, we are not warring people. We're not warriors. I mean, deep down, we're not warriors. It's the powers that be that are sending for their own gain, might I add, people to war, because, well, we are a peaceful race, I'm sure.
Of course we are. Of course we are. They teach us or educate, indoctrinate us with this rubbish. Always fought, and we've always been like cavemen, brutal. And if we were left to our own devices, we would kill each other. We would become anarchists, and there would be a chaos everywhere. No, they create controlled chaos, then educate our children that we've always had wars and we're warmongering and there will always be wars and it's good for the economy, blah, blah, blah. It's all satanic deception run by a cowardly few cowards, absolutely demented, psychopathic, pedophile, rotten to the core, degenerate creatures who have only one thing to look forward to: damnation, eternal damnation. So while they're still lingering around, let's expose their asses and make their hell come quicker, and stand up. Let us not be in any fear at all. We are immortal. We are the true ones. They are stealing our energy because we have souls. They are soulless. There's no way that they can survive without parasiting our beautiful energy. They need it. And we got to turn around and say, no more, no more. You can go to hell. Go back to hell where you come from. They come from hell. They are not like us. They look different to us anyway. You have a look at your Tony Blairs and your Camerons and all of these Thatchers and Bushes and Obamas. They actually look like a pile of shit. They don't even, you can tell they don't have any decency. They are totally demented. You can just see it every time they open their mouths. These are more demonic than the demons. Most people have no idea. They'll give them standing ovations at the football, oh, George Bush, let's stand up. They know that they can get a standing ovation when they go to visit the throngs, at the football, because these people are sleeping. They would never go into a crowd of awakened people and survive, because they're never there. They only know to turn up where sleeping people are so that they can, look good. And of course, the cameramen are there to take shots and then publish it on the media so that other good people see and say, oh, well, look at that. They've got a lot of, standing ovation for George Bush at the Super Bowl. Must have been a great man. Deception upon deception upon deception, guys. We are the ones who see through it all. We are the ones that need to be vocal, stand up, help our brothers who can't see it. And despite the ridicule, keep going, and we'll save them. I mean, if you look back at your own lives, I look at myself even only just last year at some of the things I was doing and thinking, wow, I would never be doing those today. 10 years ago, some of the ignoramus things I remember, well, not 15 years ago, I was a member of one of Melbourne's Australian Rules Football Club, spending, a couple $100 a year to be a silver member. I wouldn't do that in a fit now. Why would I want to support? It's all corporatism, isn't it? Because I love football. You see how we get confused? Because I love sport and I used to play football when I was a boy and soccer, I like to watch it, okay? But do you like it that much now
because of how it's become corporatized and all the bloody murder behind it. All these sportsmen are making, you know, 6 figures, while our grandparents are in nursing homes eating bread and drinking water, our pensioners. And these sportsmen pouncing around like they're God's gift to humanity, making, you know, 100 million a year, signing contracts with Real Madrid and Arsenal and Manchester United and all this bullshit. I would never even look at the scores now. It's 10 years now, I don't even look at the scores. And yet, see, innocent things like that, these are things that we have to come out of. As the scripture says, get out of Babylon the Great, my people, if you do not want to share with them in their sins, because they're going to cop it. They will cop it. All that is evil and corrupt will absolutely be a part of history. It will be destroyed, because the universe is planning a blissful and perfect system for us to live in, as it was designed to be. They are the ones who have jumped in, co-opted it, and destroyed it, you see, while we were sleeping.
So you're very excited then, Santos?
Sorry?
You're very excited because this end is coming and this change is coming.
I always have been, since I was a little boy. I used to get beat up at school preaching about Armageddon's coming. I haven't stopped. Only I know what Armageddon is now, the Gotterdammerung, the Ragnarok, all of these in our mythologies, the twilight of the gods. Which gods? Well, the gods, the false idols that people make. They're sporting heroes, army generals, politicians, you know. Some people will get upset with if you support someone that's doing good things, like what's your guy over there, Jeremy, I forget his name right now.
Jeremy Hunt, Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Okay, so if you publish something nice about those guys, that they're doing something nice, people think you're now putting all your hope in them to save the world. No. See, the heavens, God, the creator, uses men. He used Cyrus, who was not a worshipper of the creator, to destroy Babylon. He used Titus to destroy Jerusalem. You know, I mean, so it's not one man, a leader of a political party, who is our savior. The scriptures tell us, do not put your trust in men. Do not put your trust in men. It's in God that we put our trust. It's in the creator that he has a plan. We need to trust that. We made the plan because we are God. Ultimately, we resolve back to God. And so we made the plan. We didn't write a script that would turn to shit. We didn't write it that we would suffer for 50 years, you know, or thousands of years, and be controlled and manipulated and sent to war and vaccinated and chemtrailed and fluoridated and to end that way. No, we wrote it that it would end perfectly, like the movies. Don't they always end, you know, and they lived happily ever after? We know how to write scripts. We're not stupid. Okay, we are co-creators of this, and we are not duds. We are not a carpenter who starts building a house and then, oh, made a mistake, put a match to it, start again. No, we're going to construct this properly. We are awakening, and we are the ones we've been waiting for. As the Hopis have said, do everything in glory, do everything in righteousness, because you are the ones you've been waiting for. And they know we're coming. They know it, and we're here. And so, of course, I'm excited. I always have been. Ever since I was little, I've always been positive, knowing that the end will be beautiful. It will be.
Brother, I must interject. Forgive me, but I've written something that I found from some kind of Vedic translation from Cambodia. Angkora, is it up that way? The messages that are contained within there, and what you're saying there is resonating. with something that I wrote regarding, well, I just copied it, but if you could just hear me and let me read this to you with regards to exactly how you're saying about the awakening. He will then re-establish righteousness upon earth, and the minds of those who live at the end of the age of strife shall be awakened, and shall be pellucid as crystal. These men who are thus changed by virtue of that peculiar time shall be as seeds of man, and shall give birth to a race who shall follow the laws of the golden age of purity. Could be 6,000 years old. And then the last bit to it is another 4 sentences. Wealth and piety will decrease day by day until the world will be wholly depraved. Then property alone will confer rank. Wealth will be the only source of devotion. Passion will be the sole bond of union between the sexes. Falsehood will be the only means of success of litigation. And that's it. That's very old. That is prophesied of the end of times and the new dawn of the new era, probably Aquarius type age of that you're feeling now, then, that you're seeing. And I just wanted to share that. What do you think of that?
Did you say it was from Angkor Wat in Cambodia?
That's the one. I can't say it because of my dyslexia. I struggle with that really bad. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I was looking at Vedic principles and stuff, and it just led on to that. Like, I was doing some research, and what Santos was saying resonated with. I was trying to drum up, the spirits and say, on my team, this is a sign. We are those guys doing that work, all of us together. I yield.
Oh, I think Santos was... Yeah.
There's a scripture in Daniel, the last chapter of Daniel, I think it is. I'll look it up in a minute, where it says, and the righteous ones will whiten their robes like the sun, and the evil ones will just continue in their ways. But it talks about this. Joel says that I shall pour out my spirit, and the young virgins will prophesy, and the young men will heal and foretell the future, and all of these changes that will come. It is the Gotterdammerung. It is the end times. Only we were fearing. The ones that were fearing shouldn't have, because it's not for us. The end is not for us. There's going to be no destructive climax for us. It will be for the evildoers, the ones who choose ignorance, teach ignorance, live in ignorance. Ignorance, willful ignorance, is the only sin that exists, because we should be full of knowledge, truthful knowledge, not the sort of knowledge that entertains the ears, like these half-truthers in the alternative media who are clueless. They'll give you a few good truths, but they still think they're spinning upside down on a Santa ball. Totally a Jesuit lie, but they haven't got the brain power to even fathom that they've been lied to. It's incredible. They're researchers, and they call themselves that, and yet the moment you talk about stationary Earth, they crumble into a pile of dust. They're so deluded, and yet this is the sort of power that this ignorance has. People like the globe. As I was saying before, this guy locally doesn't live far from me. He said he's going to come and get my guitar, and he's going to rape me with my guitar because I'm teaching stationary Earth. This is how much it's like a religion. There's no more sinister religion than this Copernican revolution hypothesis. It's absolutely gripped the hearts and minds of all stupid people on the plane, and they are convinced of it. They will kill you for suggesting that the Earth is stationary, and yet we have hundreds of scientific proofs that all of them, in fact, from the days of James Bradley in 1729, Astronomer Royal, through George Airy in the 1870s, the other astronomer royal with their telescope experiments. I did a show, a video on Pierluigi Ghina, showing Italians before he died in 2004, and saying how he was a colleague of Guglielmo Marconi, inventor of the radio, for 10 years. And he said together they conducted some laboratory tests proving that the Earth is stationary, and he shows the interviewer how you can prove it for yourself. And he's saying that scientists will not acknowledge this because they see everything in reverse. So these people are following these scientists blindly, the Copernican revolution, so-called, and yet with no evidence. But they will kill you for it. It's such a religious thing that it's absolutely it has a hold of them in every way. Not only their minds, but also their emotions and their body. They go into convulsions almost. You know, if you they won't even let you talk. You know, that's how it has gripped them. So ignorance and willful ignorance. You see, when I was first being sent flat Earth videos in 2014, at first I was just sending them. I wasn't watching them. I watched 3 or 4 minutes, and then I thought, nah, can't be. Yeah, it just can't be. And I would attack the people who were sending them to me, saying, you know, it's just a psyop and it's a distraction. Okay. Because they wanted my opinion. Obviously, here I am saying I'm a truther, right? So, but it only took me 6 months to realize, and then I came out with it. I knew I was going to get blasted because here I am all over the place on YouTube, using the Copernican model. The hatred. Now, what I proved to the world is that even in my ignorance, I'm not a willful, ignorant individual, and I don't, defend anything I have no evidence for to the death like they do. So isn't that better? Wouldn't you like that on your record one day to say, hey, look, you went from this model to this other model and you were wrong? Even if we're wrong, right? Let's say we're wrong. It's a globe, and we're going to find that out sometime this year or next year. We're going to find out for sure it's a globe. Okay, well, what does it tell you about us? They will say, oh yeah, that you're gullible. No, it's that we are truth seekers, and we will not remain willfully ignorant. Whoever does that will be harming themselves probably forever. Willful ignorance is more evil and sinister than anything else. And that's what it says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, when demonic teachings and lies and activity increases on the plane of the earth, then I will come and vanquish the demons. Well, Krishna is Christ. It's the same thing. And all of the Christ archetypes in all the scriptures say that. That's why we say we want Christ consciousness, because it's the higher consciousness which will eliminate our lower consciousness, which is animalistic and inclined to be ignorant. Christ consciousness is awakening consciousness. Christening means to illuminate, to have light in your mind, to have the higher mind, to not accept the ignorance that we are subjected to by incarnating on this plane. It's the fact that we have bodies and conditions that proves that we are ignorant, and it's only the diligent ones and the good-hearted ones that decide to break free from that ignorance, and they will listen. They will listen to things that sound different and truthful, and they will use their own discretion as to whether they will accept it or do more research or ridicule it or trust it or believe in it or know it, you know. And that due
diligence is noted by the heavens. It doesn't matter if you, make a mistake and you accept a false teaching, as long as you are humble, as long as you are keeping your mind open and your heart, and you are willing to expel the ignorance and acknowledge that you are in ignorance. You were born in ignorance. That's what it means you were born in sin. It's because you were born with partial ignorance. In some people, it's more powerful because, as Macrobius wrote 1700 years ago, the great Neoplatonist, he said, some drink of the cup of Lethe, the cup of Bacchus, more than others. And this is why there are differing opinions and beliefs about God. It's because some are more intoxicated than others. So we need to have mercy. Like Jesus said, forgive them, Father, they know not what they are doing. And all of these people who are upside down spinning, trying to fall off the bottom of the Santa ball, all the while laughing at the flat earthers who might fall off a stationary, flat, horizontal earth, which is totally impossible unless you're a retard, but totally possible to fall off a spinning, hurtling, wobbling, thrusting, rotating, orbiting Santa ball, and you're on the bottom of it, like I am supposedly here in Australia, and they're laughing at us. You see how sick people are? We need to have pity, people. We need to have so much empathy for them. They are sick. They are demented. They are degenerate, and they don't even know it. And you look at them, and you can see that they are. You can see they are whitewashed. There's no soul left in them for all the false beliefs that they have surrounded themselves with. They're living in false beliefs. Everything. They go to the doctor, get vaccinated because the doctor says, oh, you won't get the flu. And yet they do get the flu. They do drink the fluoridated water because fluoride's good for you. I learned that at school. It's good for your teeth. 100 years ago, people were losing their teeth. Now everybody's got teeth. You see, everything, you can even manipulate bullshit like that and make it credible, and people will just go along with it.
Yeah, that's that. Can I interrupt you there, Santos, please? That about the teeth. People in Africa I'm not going back that many years, maybe 100 or so, before the dawn of medicines and things, before our influence upon Africa became so apparent as what it is today. These tribes, their teeth were beautiful, man. You look at these old black and white photos, you can go online and find them. Their teeth were beautiful. I mean, it's only recently. You look at the teeth now when you see someone from, I don't know, I won't even say any country, I don't want to be derogatory or anything like that, far from it. But their teeth nowadays, because our influence, the Western influence I'm talking about, has ruined their teeth, and there you can see, I mean, this is in the course of, 80, 100 years, if not even that, probably.
Yeah, teeth are being ruined. Dentists are murdering our children. They are harming them only. They do nothing good, nothing at all. Even to the point that my mother recounted to me last time I was there last year. She said to me, I remember once I got a little slip in the mail from the local dentist and says, come in and get your teeth cleaned. We'll clean them and check them for you and everything. And my mum, she said, stupidly, here I am. I went to the dentist. It was free, So she said, she went and got her teeth cleaned. So they get their little drill thing and they put that little buffer on there and they zzz, they polish your teeth and they do look good. They look really white and nice and everything like that. My mum says, stupid me, I got seduced by that free offer. Ever since then, you have to use a toothpick now. She said, my teeth are useless. Everything I eat, no matter what, in all my life, I've never had to use a toothpick. I've never had food cord in my teeth. Perfect teeth. She went to get them clean because she thought, they look a little bit yellow. I'll go. Just through that free treatment, this is how seductive they are, the liars. She ruined her teeth. Now she's got all kinds of things and she just sits there in despair thinking, what a stupid idiot. I'm the one who knew that they're liars and deceivers.
I grew my children to avoid going to them. I raised them in such a way that they would not go to doctors, and yet she got seduced. Be careful, guys. There's always a salesman, a sinister salesman is going to sell you snake oil real quick. And even though, you know, you're protected and conscious and aware, this is how the world works. And it's all because of why? Because they have to make a living, don't they? The coppers, they don't like doing their job. We're just making a living, guys. We're just following orders. This is how we make, you know. It's sad, guys. I mean, it's
It
the
is
money.
when everything is a lie, and the lie upon the lie, and the taking your freedom away, and you didn't even notice it again and again and again. You know, it's for me, like, if you've got to lie to people about space to make a fake reality that doesn't even exist, that's just to take people's freedom away, because that's what it's about. It's disgusting.
I'd say that it was crimes against man. What they've done, they've perpetrated crimes against man, and this incessant interaction with the state is because they're billing the certificate, and every time the national insurance surname or date of birth is claimed and used, then they get payment and billed, don't they? And I'm trying to recall the symbol for the dentistry. I think it's two snakes around a cross, a stake or something. Is it? It's
I think it's two. It's like that Kundalini around a tooth with roots. As far
I don't
as
know
can
if
remember.
anybody else is like, but I know in the 80s they just drilled everybody's teeth out. They obviously were making money. It happened to me, it happened to Santos, it happened to loads of people. Just drill them out, fillings, root canals, the whole thing.
Yeah, the price of mercury must have gone up that year. Lead, whatever.
I had beautiful teeth.
Go on, I was going to say mercury. That's a poison in itself, is it not? That they put in there for us.
Yeah, yes, it is. There's many other things that they could have used as well, but this is the thing. The Jesuit Rockefellers, servants of the Vatican, decided to take over natural remedies, homeopathy, with allopathy, and their chemicals, their petrochemicals, and the Vatican families have been enriched by all this, and all of our friends, family, children have got mercury poisoning, and their nervous system is poisoned from the mercury, and this of course, doctors as well with mercury in their vaccines. Usually, when we go to people like that, like a dentist, they could fix some teeth infections, for instance, with garlic. You know, instead of saying, "Oh, just grab a clove of garlic on your way home at the shop and stick that on there for 10 minutes tonight," your infection will absolutely be smashed. Thank you very much. And no, can't do that, because then he can't continue to help people properly, because he won't make money to buy his house, which he doesn't own.
Guys, can I tell Santos something that I kind of withheld, but I think now's a good time to bring it up. It'll just take me a couple of minutes, but we got called upon, Santos, there's a city in England, Liverpool. I'm some 200 miles away from Liverpool, and my right hand man, we'll call him a trustee, the custodian trustee of our trust. He lives a good hour, say 60 miles away, and there was a plea put in our Facebook group saying there's a family in Liverpool. I'll be careful with the data, but I am permitted to speak about it because I was involved. Family in Liverpool, there's a child, offspring property that's had inoculation at some point. Ever since that inoculation with the mercury-based preservatives and whatnot, it was ill. So he was in hospital and he was on life support. And this poor family had been to court twice to try and get the baby taken to the Vatican. Right, you're going to love this, son. He's not going to love it in that way, but this is what this family did, right? They had the Vatican Air Defence plane on standby in Italy. They had the consulate from the Italian consulate in England in the hospital, and they had a we didn't know this, they had a Roman Catholic priest there as well, and they'd had like a little church set up in the hospital to lay candles and well wishes for this baby. And there was a caught up in a legal battle, and we was like, we have no knowledge of this area at all. So this is what's led me on to where I am present day. This was a good 6 months ago. And they said, you guys know about birth certificates and common law and courts and stuff. This family needs some help. Can you go up and help? So we raised some money. We went up to Liverpool. We actually, got a few £100 together in a few hours from the family, like, bless them. And we got diesel and went. I collected Andy, Sovereign Smith, and we then went to Liverpool. And we got there. It was the 11th hour. It was all locked off with police. There was media there. There was hundreds of supporters outside and protesters, and you can imagine it was a media frenzy. We slipped in silently and met a contact, a friend of the family, direct friend of the family, and said, look, this is the situation, and we're going to go and get the sister and the brother down, and you're the father or somebody, and we need you to explain what you know. This is equity now. We're talking canon. This is how we found the canons and ecclesiasticals through our, and Steve McRae did help us, to be fair, Santos. He was on the phone on hand, because we realised when we went around the corner, there was the need to ask the Roman Catholic priest to be the eyes and ears of the Holy See to get this baby out of there. And there was a footballer in Liverpool had donated about 30,000 or thereabouts to get all this organised. There was a Polish medical support team there, and the family wanted and said they wanted the baby out, and they wanted to take him to Italy. The father, in the meantime, travelled to the Vatican, brother, and got, I don't agree with this, but I'll tell you the facts. He went to the Vatican and got a second citizenship for his son in desperation, about getting on the ship, and you want to get into the club, then all you need is a pass on the ship. But still, he got the second. It's got a legal additive, because if you have a second citizenship, the diplomatic powers and so forth that can be invoked with the an Italian citizenship, and I do too. I have the surname Jeremita, but I continue on, and it was denied on the grounds of the Pope wanted to be invited over, and for the Italian diplomat, the Roman Catholic priest that was present, to be instructed. So we did have a chat with Steve, and we didn't realise we were going to talk to a Roman Catholic priest and have to compel him and tell him we'd been sent by the Creator, and address him as father, and tell him about the certificate and everything, and that this baby had had an injection and it was sick, and there was in a plane waiting from the in the Vatican. And brother, I've done no law training at all. I went on to speak to a family, and we ended up having to ring Steve and speak to this guy from Westminster of London, the square mile jurisdiction of Westminster, I might add. He was up there to oversee things, and we let him know that perhaps he'd kind of failed, and that he wasn't willing to give us a passage out of the hospital. He wasn't willing to assist with the safe passage or anything, because he said that he didn't believe the father protected him. And this was all over an inoculation, and the hospital saying that the baby was not to be released, and they put an order on the family and said, if you take that baby out, you'll be charged, and if you resuscitate your own property, the baby, the dad, if he resuscitated the baby, he would be charged with assault. So then they come to us and said, this is enough. This is enough. If this is England 2018, and a man is going to get charged criminally for assault for resuscitating his baby in a UK hospital, they said, help us. And so we did. And I'll share that with you, but I'm nearly crying, to be fair, because the baby passed away, and we didn't do it. We failed, kind of, but it's something to be shared, and that's what drives us on. Do you know what I mean? It's you said evil, and I want to share with people how evil it is, because that's some serious shit there, man. That really is. I yield now, but I just wanted to share that.
Oh wow! I didn't know that baby died. I was following that story. And then I lost contact with that story. So that's very sad, and that is a good example of this evil. They want to hang on to their slave system.
They obviously are making first claim on that baby through the birth certificate and the sole print of the sole of the foot of the child. So they are actually signing all of us, signing us over to the devil. The devil is the crown. Crown is Kronos. Kronos is Saturn. Saturn is Satan. So all those people who work for the crown, oh yeah, they sound like they're pretty clever right now. Yeah, really nice to tell their friends at their parties that they work for the crown. Yes, it's true, they work for the crown. They work for Satan. Satan, the ruler of this world, and so they will inherit the same destiny as all the evil entities. And working for the crown is absolutely not not a good place to be working. You want to be working for the Creator. Anyone doing jobs and not work is pretty much in the same category. That's why they created jobs just over broke, so that we wouldn't be doing the good work, the good alchemical work, which is what we were here to do. We did come to do a lot of work. Work is good, the good work, the alchemical work. And through this knowledge, we can save families from getting into this situation where their children will be taken over by taken control by a criminal, cruel, cold, evil people trafficking system. They're just interested in the energy that they can get. They're not interested in the benefit, the welfare, the good, the evolution of anything. They're just serving their bellies and everything that they can extract from Mother Earth and her children. So these parasites, the writing's on the wall, guys. Let us not be, as Jesus says in the gospel, raise your heads erect, for deliverance is nigh. To never be dejected. I learnt that as a Jehovah's Witness, in my Bible reading days. And I've maintained that. I get depressed. Yeah, I get angry and I get frustrated.
Aren't we, Santos? It's just the same. They're experimenting on us. They talk about animals and cruelty. They're doing the same to us. We're also the animals.
Yep. For them, there's no difference. Animal, human, goy, Gentile.
I was about to say they're not just doing animals, they're doing worse than that. They really are. Seriously. It's all that information about evil in the world, it's not very difficult to find it, and it's not very far to go looking for it in that sense. Just got to look to the powers that be, and there they are.
Yep, in their eyes, if you're not a useless eater, you're a useful idiot. So the useless eaters, they put them in homes, they put them in factory jobs, and they're just there to eat, and they're useless. And then the useful idiots, they put them as sporting heroes, and doctors, people in Hollywood, all of these people in the public media, your Bill Nye, the liar guys, the Neil deGrasse Tysons, teaching people pure lies, pure filth, and they are considered to be useful idiots. So either way, they disrespect humanity. Because why? Well, because we are gods. We are God's children, and they are not. As Jesus says, you are the children of your father, the devil, who was a liar from the beginning. You do not, you do not care for truth. Your whole nature is a lie, everything. And then when the Pharisees turned around and says, we are not, they defended themselves. Jesus says, because you say you do see, your sin remains. Because Jesus was saying, you'd be forgiven if you were ignorant, but if you see
if you have the power to understand the scriptures and yet you don't, you don't follow them, well, then you're equally sinning like the ignorant people. And of course, the Pharisees turned around and said, well, we do see. He said, well, your sin remains because you're still, even though you know the scriptures and you still wish to enslave humanity, well, then you are more so deserving of a bad judgment and destiny. So hence, he says, better for you to tie a millstone around your neck and cast yourself into the sea than to stumble one of these little children who are seeking to get into the kingdom. And so I don't understand at all. I have no understanding at all how they can live with themselves. I just cannot comprehend this at all. People with souls and empathy and compassion.
Yeah, they stand there, don't they? Preaching to us, all those poly tricks, all of it, like coming out and pretending all this stuff to us. It's terrible. It's pretend, fantasy.
Yep, it's a whole fictional world. It's a whole fictional world, Karen. It's very, very sad. Even the churches. You see a lot of good people going to church, a lot of great people. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they're really nice people. My family is still involved with them, my cousins and that. And they're good people, but, they've put all of their faith in a false hope. They're waiting for a literal Jesus to return. This is a Roman fabrication. The Romans just did what every other empire did. They brought their Osiris's, Horuses, Buddhas, Krishnas down to earth and made them part of this temporal plane. The Creator and the higher angels and cherubim and seraphim and all of these, they do not materialize. They don't have any contamination with matter. And so when the scriptures talk about Jesus returning in the clouds and things like that, the clouds are your cerebrum, the higher mind. The cerebrum is grey matter, looks just like the clouds, okay? So when Christ returns, he returns up top, not at the bottom, where most people do their thinking, in the lower chakras, sex, power, survival, and all of that. So the Jesuits who co-opted all the Protestant churches, who originally, like the Albigenses, the Cathars, the Bogomils, the Socinians, the Waldenses, the Lollards, I can name hundreds of them, before Martin Luther and Calvin, who were Jesuits, they were teaching a literary Jesus. They weren't teaching a literal Jesus. Rome did that. The Romans did that with Julius Caesar, the original JC, and then Titus Vespasian did it. He was God. He did it with his son. So the Julio-Claudian dynasty did it. Then the Flavians did it. Then the Constantines did it. And then the Justinians did it. And then the Medicis did it in the Renaissance time by painting their family as, for instance, Cesare Borgia is the Jesus that we see in modern art. So it's the same elite family, the Borgias, the Farneses, the de Medicis, they all belong to this Julio-Claudian, Flavian, Constantinian, Justinian group. In fact, the only bloodline that they still hark back to is Justinian, the man who in 527 closed the Platonic schools by edict, therefore shutting down syncretism in Rome, which flourished for 500 years, and the Neoplatonic school. All the Neoplatonic academies were shut down. They started teaching Aristotle and material science instead of Platonic spiritual science. And he created dog Latin.
and his wife removed reincarnation from the scriptures that we have, the 66 canonized books of the Bible, whereas 2,500 books at the Council of Nicaea were totally omitted from Holy Scripture. So whether you think you're a Protestant and you're, do-gooder and Jesus, you're still reading a Catholic canon law Bible. That's what canonizing the Bible means. It's canon law. Not saying that the Bible is bad. It's a beautiful book. It's a wonderful book. I recommend reading it daily and following it because it's divine. But the elite families literalized it, folks. They literalized it. So if you are intelligent enough to know that their globe lie is false, we need to understand also that their second biggest lie, the Jesus is coming vicarious savior lie, is not serving anyone, let alone Christians. I see a lot of good flat earthers that are Christians, smart enough to see through the globe earth, but not smart enough to opt out of the Jesuit historical Jesus. There may have been a Yeshua, a great man, a prophet, but it's not in the Bible. A gospel is a gospel. A gospel is a fairy tale or a nursery rhyme for adults. Same content. If you read Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's exactly the same as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Same principles, same teachings. Great archetypal heroes who are embedded in your nature. If you follow that Jesus that is in your heart, that Christ that is in your soul, you will be saved. Christ is the Savior. Don't make any mistake about that, but it's not literal and it's not historical. Jesus will never be temporal. There will never be a temporal, mundane Savior. Yes, there have been avatars. Yes, there have been ascended masters, but you won't find them in Gospels, okay? And you are that. You will be an ascended master. You will be a Jesus. You will be, and you will be God in all of your expectations. You will reach the glory that you feel in your heart. If you are inspired by glory, by truth, by righteousness, that means that seed will grow and be fulfilled. And you will reach the fulfillment of all the righteousness that you feel in your heart. You will reach the fulfillment of all your heart's desires, because God cannot fail. Everything is God, folks. Everything.
May I tell you, Santos, brother, what we teach at some of our seminars as like a ethos or an ethic, that perhaps that it's the crucifixion could be the cross of fiction, and we've also emulated some of this in our later part discovery of the Testaments, Old and New, and the books and certain things. And maybe it wasn't Jesus that died on the cross. Maybe it was something called justice that died on the cross. And this cult, time and preface of the lineage of the historical attributes to what we see and how we are now, it can be linked directly to, certain things. So I just wanted to say that we agree. I would agree with that as well, that it's not to be taken literally, and thousands of our brothers and sisters have taken it literally, and there's the coded message in there. I find it fascinating that Jesus was said to have walked on water, and admiralty is what, and the law of the sea, the waters of the sea, and it's got a lot of it's got a lot in there that's down to the reader, the interpretation. But some of it is slaps you in the face and says, "Hello, are you hearing this?" But sorry, I just wanted to add that. Yeah, all right, brother.
I couldn't have said it better. When Jesus walked on water, he walked on admiralty water of Rome. He said, "Get out of that ship. Stop sleeping in the ship, Peter and Andrew." They were sleeping. He was awake. He was walking on the water. Then when Peter gets up and says, "Oh, Lord, you're walking on water. Can I do it too?" He says, "Yes." And Peter gets out, Jew Peter, and he starts sinking. And Jesus turns around and says, "You have little faith." In other words, the people who don't have faith to be sovereign and self-determined, they will need to be sleeping in that citizenship, in that vessel. See, the Jesus of the Bible is not literal, it's literary. There are two Jesuses. There's the king and the priest, the sovereign and the spiritualist. In the Bible, it teaches you how to be self-determined, how to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and what is to God unto God. It teaches you how to be a priest for 1,000 years with Christ. It teaches you how to send the Christ, how to ascend the oils, the Christic oils that are in your body, how to sublimate them, how to turn your vices into virtues. This is why in Revelation, the Lamb that was worthy to open the 7 seals, and the Lion of the tribe of Judah that were in the seven seals. The 7 seals are the 7 congregations in Asia that are in your body, the 7 chakras. The Lamb is Aries, the cerebrum on top of your head, the crown chakra. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, that's Leo, your heart chakra. When you open your heart and the lion and the lamb lie together, so to speak, then you will be with Christ in his 7 congregations. Then you will be self-determined. You'll not be sinking in the waters, maritime water did. Remember, in the scriptures it says, and Pharaoh and all of his were drowned in the sea. Well, it's not literal. It's saying that Pharaoh and the system of slavery that tried to enslave Moses and the children of Israel, who are us, they have Pharaoh and his army and his military financial debt system has infiltrated all of humanity, because the sea is in reference to humanity. So when we follow Jesus, we will be sovereigns, as you are doing, David, because you're following the Bible in your sovereignty. And you will be a priest. You will be your own spiritual master. You will ascend, and you will Jesus one day. And just to finish this thought, you said there before that when Titus destroyed the temple of Jerusalem, he crucified a truth school. There, they had a temple where they were initiating people. And when you are initiated, once you've finished, you get put on a stake or a cross, and you do a mock death of your body. And then you are initiated and you are given a new name. And that name was Christ Jesus. But usually it was just Jesus. They were known as Jesus people who were being initiated down in Jerusalem. Well, Rome put an end to that. That's what they killed. They killed the true Jesus school, the last one remaining. And then shortly thereafter, they destroyed Alexandria, the library. They destroyed Corinth and Athens. And these were 4 places in the Mediterranean where syncretism, astrotheology, and Neoplatonism, which is vegetarianism and astrology, was taught and was prospering. And so they crucified Jesus' school, they crucified the Neoplatonists, they crucified the Hermetists from Egypt, and all of these wisdom teachers, because essentially they're all teaching the same thing. There's no difference. They just use different words. It's like when I go to England, I call a car a car. When I go to Italy, I call it macchina. When I go to Spain, I call it coche. But they will never stone me if I make a mistake in Spain and call a coche a car. They will laugh, but they will understand that I'm using another word in another language foreign to them, but in reference to the same thing. So why is it that Christians, do-gooders, taken it upon themselves to go to other lands and kill people who are worshipping Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, and all of these other names, when essentially, if they did their
due diligence and comparative research, they would find that Quetzalcoatl is Jesus, Osiris is Jesus, Buddha is Jesus. It's all Jesus. There is nothing but Jesus, because Jesus is the archetype that everyone has always worshipped, because Jesus represents the soul of the universe. Christ, on the other hand, is different. It's related, but it's different. Christ is before Jesus. Christ is the spirit, and Christ is your crown chakra, your spirit. And your Jesus is all the other 6 chakras, including your heart chakra. That's why Jesus is always pointing to his sacred heart. And he's saying, when you go to your heart, then you will go to heaven, to the Lamb of God, sitting on top of Mount Zion and singing a new song. That's why in Revelation chapter 14 it says, and I saw and behold 144,000 standing on Mount Zion with the Lamb, singing the new song. Well, if you count all the petals of your chakras, your 6 bottom chakras, they all amount to 144. Your crown chakra has 1,000 petals. 1,000 by 144 gives you 144,000. And when you climb that mountain through the heart chakra, you go through the throat chakra into the cranium, which is the head, heaven heaved up. Then you illuminate your dormant brain cells, and your cerebrum emits a halo, and you'll be standing on Mount Zion, your vertebrae, 33 bones.
Can I ask you something?
And
oh, sorry, Santos.
Yep.
I was gonna. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's related, I do believe. It was about this the lost gospel. Is it Thomas? You know, when it starts off, when you make the 2 one, and you make the inside as the outside. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard that before?
Oh yes, of course.
I just wanted to know, what can you tell me about that, or what can you tell us about that? Because it's just, I don't know, it's just so interesting, you know. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, please.
Yeah, well, making the 2 one is bringing harmony between your polarized energies, the Kundalini and the Kundalini.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Would you mind if I just read it? I mean, it's only very short. When you make the 2 one, and when you make the inside as the outside, and the outside as the inside, and the upper as the lower, and when you make the male and the female into a single one, so that the male is not male and the female not female, and when you make eyes in place of an eye, and a hand in place of a hand, and a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you shall enter, and then in brackets, the kingdom. Yeah, please. I'd love to hear.
Yep. Well, this is all alchemical. It's talking about recombine our differentiated spiritual energy. This is how it works. In your cerebrum, just below your cerebrum, there's a claustrum, and it's called the Santa or Holy Claustrum, Santa Claus at the North Pole. Now, that cerebrospinal fluid in its original state is called the manna from heaven, and it's pure. What it does is it descends, it goes all the way down the chimney, as Santa Claus has to do to bring your presents, down to the sacrum, the second bottom chakra, the sexual chakra. And that fluid gets differentiated as it goes through all the glands. The pituitary gland, the pineal gland, Joseph and Mary, the progenitor of this fluid, which is called chrism, Christ, they differentiate the fluid into 2 different strands, positive and negative, down the Pingala and the Ida, which we know as connected to the Kundalini and the Kundabhafa. That's our 2 natures. So when an individual is in ignorance, he buys into this solid state of physical beings, which is male and female. Because in the spiritual world, you still are male and female, but it's transcendental, and you don't have all the connected
problems associated with it. You're in harmony. You become like a hermaphrodite, the original state that you come from. And so as that fluid continues, it goes through the thyroid, thymus, pancreas, adrenals, until it reaches the sacred, the sacrum, which is the second bottommost chakra, which is connected to your sexuality. There is where your nature will either condemn you or raise you up. Once you understand the gift of sexuality and how to use it properly to ascend back again so that they can be reconstituted, like I mentioned with alchemy before, when you get a herb like dandelion and you put it under, say, brandy or cognac or some kind of spirit, a solvent, then you take all of the goodies out of it, okay, the essential oils. Then to get the minerals, you have to burn that plant, okay, and then all the ashes you recombine with the essential oils, whatever. You can do it with tea. You can just dandelion tea. It's still a solvent. Water is a solvent. Alcohol is a solvent. But when you recombine all the elements, now you've purified them. You do what's called separate, purify, and recombine. That's the process that we're here to do. The alchemist, he's not interested in turning lead into gold as a metal. Yeah, sure, he can do that. That's an easy trick. He's interested in turning your physical lead into gold. So when you do this process, as the fluid returns back to the head heaven, it passes each chakra, and as it does, it increases its frequency and purifies until it reaches the medulla oblongata on its way up, and its nerve, which is the crucifixion at the 33rd vertebrae. Hence, Jesus dies at 33. And there is the pituitary gland at the third ventricle, and the pineal gland, Joseph and Mary, waiting for their returned son to return to heaven, head. And they rejoice. That's why Mary is always there at the cross. You always see Mary at the bottom of the cross weeping for a son, because she's weeping tears of joy that he has been crucified. Each of us must be crucified. We need to crucify our birth certificate, our person, and resurrect the man and the woman living. And so that Gospel of Thomas, of which is one of many, 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 many Gospels that have been written since the dawn of time, are teaching us the alchemical truth that once we bring into harmony our sexuality, our divided nature, etc., it's got nothing to do with the transgender teaching, which is totally demonic, teaching little boys that they can be girls in the literal sense and change their God-given bodies. It's talking about doing this in a spiritual sense, where you are now returning the idol form of your beliefs and teachings into a true form. As it says, the Apostle Paul in Galatians, he says, the law which was given to Moses is a shadow, but Christ is the living thing. So would you, if you had a tree, a beautiful oak tree in your backyard, would you bow down to its shadow and give it and reify it and make it something with properties? No, because it's just a shadow. It moves, and then when the night comes, it disappears. But the tree is always there. So the people in the world who haven't done this alchemical process, they're chasing after the wind, worshipping shadows and not the reality of things. False teachings, false idols. Do not bow down to false idols. What are they? Well, the globe, the Copernican hypothesis. He warned people. He says this hypothesis is not to be taken as absolute truth. It is just one to explain certain phenomena. But what have the stupid people done? They've gone and actually gone against what he said. He said, don't take it. It's a hypothesis.
Do not take it as truth. And they've gone and done that. What are they doing? They're bowing down to false idols. The Gospel of St. Thomas is teaching how to recombine the lost elements. Hence, we are instructed to kill the heathens, to kill the little children of the Canaanites, to open up the pregnant bellies of the Canaanite women, rip their children out and dash them against the crag. Well, that's not any God telling you to do that literally. It's literary. And it's telling you that you must kill your unevolved, childish thoughts and emotions that will lead you to perpetual harm. Unless you murder these undeveloped, stupid, irrational thinking lines and emotional, childish behavior, murder them and dash them against the crag, you will not grow. You will not ascend. You will not sublimate anything. How will you ever grow your wings like a grub in a cocoon, protected till the time he is ready to break free from the cocoon with his wings and fly? You see, what we will do is, if we bow down to these false idols and the philosophies of men, whom we are warned not to trust, we will self-deceive. And these are the people who will kill you for their globe, which they know nothing about. All they have is Neil deGrasse Tyson's pear-shaped CGI, and that's their proof. And they're going to law and prove that they're living on a Santa ball. So all of these gospels are teaching the same thing, brother, and that is to recombine your lost, constituent parts that will remember who you are. You need to put all those members back together again, guys. And they teach you that process, that alchemical process.
Well, if I may just say, we say cognize, brother. We say if man could please not recognize, because that would be to assimilate and process something that is familiar to the conscious and psyche. But if you could please cognize a new concept of being and interaction and identity and status. And if I may dare to say it, we're told we live in a duality, but I'm seeing such synchronicities and fantastic things happening at the minute that I beg to differ that it is a duality. It's a paradigm, and it's ruled by a duality of sorts: man, woman, left, right, blue, red, conservative, Labour, etc. But I am going to let you know now that perhaps quantum subatomic would argue to beg to differ with all of that, but I just wanted to say that I yield. Thank you.
Yep. Very good. Correct. Very good point. As Plato said, it is duality in unity, or it's a play of unity in duality. You see, so to have dimension and to experience through dimension, through the time-space continuum, that energy believers call duality, knowers call unity. Everything is one. Everything is interrelated, and it is all one play expressing itself through a polarized, dimensional plane, a theater, so to speak, quoting Shakespeare. And only the people who tolerate ignorance, I would say, I'm looking for a better word, but who live in ignorance, buy into the dualistic universe. Certainly it is appearing that way just through polarity, but it is a unit. Everything is interconnected. There is, there's no emptiness in the universe. It's a wholeness. There's no space as such, like outer space, I mean. It's all a oneness. The air, which appears to be emptiness, it's not. It's a fluid. It's just an attenuated fluid. It's just attenuated hydrogen and oxygen. It's water, but we call it air. They have the same
components and elements in it. It's just that it's more attenuated. And so everywhere you go through the elemental world, from earth through water, air, fire, and ether, it's still one field. There's only one field. There's just different field modalities. So yeah, let us not buy into that duality. Let us buy into unity consciousness. Unity consciousness is Christ consciousness. It's the higher consciousness. The animal consciousness sees red and blue shift. You know, the electrical world is red shift, blue shift. Everywhere is this polarization. Even in your torso, your blue chakra is on top, your red's down the bottom. Even your torso is electrical and respects the polarized, colored nature of material physicality. So yeah, as we grow in spirituality, we leave all those things behind. It's like the Apostle Paul wrote to the Colossians and said, you are still on the milk of Christ. You're still on the fundamental doctrines. I can't even teach you any esoteric Christian truths because you cannot accept. You're not ready for the meat, you know, the solid food. You're still drinking the milk. And so that's what churchgoers are. They are the ones who get indoctrinated the worst. All of them are globies. They all love their Copernican false model. They love Federal Reserve, Vatican fiat currency, blood money, war money. They collect it in their contribution boxes. No church out there is telling people to vacate their birth certificate Babylonian slave name. They all believe they are that name. They all do commerce through that name. Hence, you can see how pitied and how much empathy we need to show them, because they are the brutalized the most. As Jesus said, raise your eyes and see that the harvest is ready for reaping. And he said, look at all these sheep. They are like torn and battered like sheep without a shepherd. You know, so my philosophy is always to lend a helping hand by teaching people the truth, you know, and never fearing to be ridiculed. Everywhere I go, you know, I try to discern whether people are worthy or are ready, I should say, that would be better, to hear something about the truth, whether it's sovereignty, whether it's the true stationary flat earth cosmology, whether it's the truth about Jesus and astrology and theology. That's, I guess, the best thing we can do. And always spare a thought for these churchgoers. They are the ones who are enslaved the most. Anyway, guys, at the top of the hour, I better go.
I couldn't get my microphone off quick enough.
You're right, Karen. I was just going to say that the church, Santos, so what I've discovered of late, I'd just like to add, brother, then, is that when they were praying and they say the prayers to the white man, you know, the white man on the cloud with the beard, and it may be so that they get the prayers answered, and they believe that, you know, this religion and the faith and their devotion and, you know, devoted is the reason why this prayer was answered. But we've since, in my research, come to find the law of attraction and the power of intent, and that works just as well as a prayer, I do believe. What you inwardly manifest, you outwardly attract, and this power could be comparable to a magic, but it isn't a magic. I don't know if you've used it too much with your health of late. I dare say you may have tried to use a lot of positivity, and, you know, but certain things in life, it's like the church has manipulated man to so much extent where there are laws and you can pray and use these and have the intent. I would argue it's the intent behind it, and it's kind of unforgivable, the trickery, the knowledge, the supreme knowledge that we had in the past. And zodiac, yes, so as you've explained, but the actual science behind the psyche and the human physiological, sense connection with the universe and the consciousness and our power. And the church it's not nice when you explain to folk how we see things and morals and ethics. And somebody asked me if I know so much about law, then can I tell them about God? And I do explain my version, but I explain they must find their own version of God and encounter it that way. But we have been manipulated to a vast extent, of which I would say is a heinous crime. And thank you. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, brother.
Yeah, I agree, brother. The intent and the law of attraction. Prayer also is a misunderstood word. We can reclaim that one as well. To pray, pra-a, you can see the ray of light, of intelligent magnetism in that word. To pray is to actually, lay your God given intent into the world, and to allow it to manifest by introducing it into the as a thought wave into creation. And then your power, which is abundant, will make it manifest. And of course, churchgoers also have that power, and they ascribe it to God, which is good, but they're still not getting it. They're not getting it that they need to reawaken Christ within and accept Christ. They are actually the ones who are denying Christ. By waiting for him to come physically, they're actually killing and crucifying Christ, and that is a sin. And as Jesus said, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name, heal people in your name, expel demons, and do many powerful works? And I will say to them in that day, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. So it's the very ones who are saying, Lord, Lord, in their churches every day, the ones who are going to be rejected first. So that power of prayer is our power of actually creating. So, guys, well, I'd like to leave you with that thought about prayer, and that is that whatever we're good at, whether it's sovereignty like David, astrotheology, which is my forte, languages, etymology, whatever you're good at, do it, share it, evolve it, grow it, and keep putting it out there, because all the beautiful things in your hearts and in your minds, as you put them out and continue to do it without let up, it's like a drop of water in a dirty glass of water. The world has got a lot of dirty teachings, man, very harmful. But we have pure hearts. We love the truth. As we continue without let up, we will dispel that darkness. It's going to be dispelled. So I'd like to leave you with that. Thank you for having me. And when I'm ready, which hopefully will be soon, I'll join you, and probably I'll have more on health or whatever else we can talk about. But
yes, thank you for that, Santos. Santos, do you actually have to rush off, because we've now been going for quite a while, so we could end this hangout and just say goodbye off air?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Santos, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you truly are
absolutely amazing. Really missed you.
Yeah, you truly are like an institute for learning for most people. Seriously, you have so much knowledge, Santos, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. David, do you want to say anything as we're going off air?
No, wow, this has been excellent. That's all I can say. It's been truly fantastic, an honour and a privilege, and I'm a very happy man. I am indeed. Jessica. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Big love to your sister. Big love to Sun and Moon family and to Santos. There's much work to be done, and thank you. Bless to all.
Thank you, David, and thanks everyone in the chat as well.
Yeah, thank you, chat room, and we'll say goodbye off air, but goodbye to everybody on air, and We're back tomorrow, or today actually, back later on today. But thank you so much, Santos. That was amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Much love. Big hugs. Take care.
Big hugs back. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.